Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Let Your Google Hang Out. This is episode 122. I'm Scott Martin, and today with me is Moonshine Bonanza.
Hello. Hello.
I can
How's
feel the
it going?
laughter. Oh, good to see you. You got a different handkerchief ribbon in your hair today. I like it.
Yep, just a handkerchief, not a ribbon.
It's not a bandana, it's a handkerchief. You just blew your snots.
Yeah. I mean, a handkerchief and a bandana are kind of the same thing.
They really are. They are. Okay.
The
Well, let's
square
get
fabric that I have in my hair. Yes. Yes, sir.
You know, I think it's kind of gross, the whole idea of a handkerchief where people keep blowing their snots into the same cloth and then they just wash it. I know that it washes out, but the idea of that going in with even your dirty clothes is kind of gross. Okay. Anyway. Let's move on to our special guest this evening. He's not here all night, but the one and only Jason Horton. Hi. What do you have a cat or a dog behind you in those bowls? In those bowls. I'm sure they're not in the bowl.
Me? I have
Yeah.
two, I have cats. Yeah.
Are you more of a cat guy?
Absolutely.
The girls love that, huh?
Oh yeah. When I went on like OkCupid dates, if a girl was like, "I'm a dog person," I wouldn't even bother.
That's hilarious. Is it that you don't like dogs, you're allergic, or you just highly prefer cats?
I highly prefer cats. I have nothing against them, although I've had some like just bad experiences with them, and I just feel like the kind of girl who like loves dogs is not gonna like me.
That's true. So is that like an icebreaker? Do you go up to the girls and be like, "I like cats. I have two of them."
I mean, I'll bring it up if it comes up. You know, it's not my icebreaker. I hope. What's up, girl? I have cats.
Yeah, I know, right? I worked in pet retail for 7 years, and I can tell you there is such a thing as cat ladies. You know, the ones that actually.
Hello.
Ooh, did Scott blink out?
Oh my God.
Oh, okay. I'm here. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah. Freaky.
Okay. So as far as cats, have you had cats your whole life?
You know, I've only had cats when I lived with girls who had cats, which I happened to do.
Is that how you acquired yours?
Yeah, I kind of like essentially adopt them, and since I don't have like a real job, I spend like a lot of time with them. So yeah, I'm like a cat guy, you know.
I like that. I like that you said the real job thing because it's true. I've done a lot of work from home, and my dogs. I spend a lot of time with my dogs. Now, I'd say I'm more of a dog person, but I like cats a lot. Some people have trust issues with cats, and I know they can be unpredictable and weird. But Moonshine's got a really cool cat. She's actually got like a part ragdoll, and this thing literally is a ragdoll. Like it'll just flop around on her. She doesn't even care.
I was just trying to get her attention. She's asleep. Let me get her.
Asleep? Well, you wouldn't even know if she's alive or dead when she'll literally put the cat on her shoulder and just let it hang there, and then she'll peel back its face and it'll just be like it doesn't care. Pretty bizarre. All right, let's introduce Jason Horton to the Let Your Google Hangout audience. Why don't you tell people? Okay, so you're a white comedian, is what you label yourself as.
The world's only white male comedian.
The world's only, yes. So, how did you get started in comedy? When did you figure out that you were funny to a larger audience? And how long have you been doing it?
The funny thing is, I was a real kind of like dork loser in high school, getting beat up and stuff like that. But somebody told me that was popular. Told me they thought I was funny, and then from then I think it kind of gave me the confidence to be like, all right, well, I'm not like really good looking or good at sports or coordinated or rich or anything like that. I was like, maybe this could be my thing, and then I've kind of just run with it, and I think I just always had the ability to kind of switch gears and kind of think on my feet, and I think that's kind of carried me through till right now.
Okay, so if you were bullied in school, did you kind of have self-deprecating humor? Like if the bullies were picking on you, did you pick on yourself and they were like, huh, he's funny, and then it kind of deflected the attention?
No, I kind of was like, I just don't want to get beat up or stabbed or shot or. I mean, I lived in, I know you live in upstate New York, right?
Yeah, Western New York, anything above New York City is considered upstate, I suppose. But
Sure.
Western New Yorkers are passionate about correcting people.
Right.
But technically, we're Western upstate, you know.
Well, where I grew up was
Look at the Harego.
but it was upstate New York, but it was only about an hour north of the city.
Yeah.
In a town called, or a city called Newburgh, which is, I think, per square inch is like the most murders or the most dangerous cities in the United States, or in New York, or something like that. So there was a lot of crime, and I just did not want to.
So you were literally the only white comedian.
It was my high school was probably 60-ish% black, maybe 30% white, and then like 20% Mexican, I guess.
10% mix. You did the math wrong here, so I'm guessing that wasn't your specialty.
Well, I count Asians as 2.
Okay, that works. That works. Okay, so Moonshine's been trying to show you her cat. If you wanted to make her full screen, you could click on the bottom if you wanted to see it, or she could talk. It is a pretty badass cat. Now that cat, she can basically do it. Show him the face. Show him the face.
The face.
The face.
Sorry.
Look at the cat. Literally does not care what you do.
We also do this one.
Yeah, I can't do any of that.
That's funny. That is funny.
Oh yeah, she loves me.
What's her name again, Moonshine?
Hooter Toots.
Hooter Toots?
Yeah, POOTERTOOTS.
Okay, can you quickly explain that, or is there really?
You know, I thought I'd just like randomly come up with it, but then I saw an episode of The Simpsons with this little thing. Like, I can't remember the exact episode, but there were a lot of different stories happening within the episode, and one of them was Marge and Maggie chasing after this little toy that farted called the Pooter Toots Express. And it was like one of those like pushable train cars, but every time one would push down, the person would go, and so.
Okay,
if
so
you look up the Pooter Toots Express, it'll show you a little picture of it, and apparently I saw that episode, and it just kind of stuck in my head as a funny word, and that's.
Have either of you followed Jack Vale on YouTube?
Is Jack the son, or Jake is the son?
Yeah, Jack is the father. He's the one that has, I think it's a pooter, and it's a fart noise maker. I think that's the name of it. And he'll actually, a lot of times, he'll go in the elevators and do like hidden camera pranks, or like restaurants, and like the malls and stuff. And they're good, but I'm pretty sure it's a pooter is what it's called. I could be wrong, but
farting's always
yes,
fun.
I've actually heard of those.
Yeah, he sells quite a bit of them. But Jason, since we don't have a lot of time with you, I wanted to ask you. You've done a lot of work. Now you're on IMDb. You've got scroll of work on there, if that's what you want to call it.
I don't want to know.
Out of all the things you've done, what is your favorite project? If you had one thing to tell, let's say you met a girl in OkCupid, right?
And I have.
And I have. You've done sketches about it too, which is good. I think you have that one auto-playing on your channel right now.
A little sneak peek. I'm doing the 7 guys of OkCupid tomorrow at the YouTube space.
Nice. Okay.
Comment guy version. Do the guy version. So I'm doing the guy version.
All right. I'll link that so people that are watching this as it's published tonight or in the morning can hopefully see that, and I look forward to seeing it. But going back to that, like, what do you think is your favorite thing if you had to tell a girl, well, I've done, this? What would you be most proud of?
I was really excited because I was on an episode of Tosh.0 the same night the movie Smiley premiered. So I was at the Smiley premiere, which was like a big thing at AMC, and it was like a red carpet, and it was like, it was a movie that my family could see in New York that I was in. That night, I was getting a lot of tweets like, oh, I saw you on Tosh.0, and this episode of Tosh.0 was featured on. So that was really exciting for me because it all happened at once. And
Was
then
that the coffee related thing?
it was a coffee thing that I did. It was like a video that I shot with Sean Klitzner, like, thought nothing of it. It was like, let's just shoot another video. And then they, like, hunted me down. They actually found me through my manager on Funny or Die, not even YouTube. I put up on Funny or Die as, like, a whatever, and they found me on there. Then went to my improv, like, the improv school that I perform at, found a contact there, contacted my manager from there, and then she contacted me. People are looking for those videos. And then Yahoo, I did a thing called Freaky Friday the 13th, which was exciting because it was, like, off YouTube. College Humor directed it. I'm in it for a little bit, but I wrote it. Lindsay Lohan was attached for a bit. That became too much of a pain in the ass for me. Then Hilary Duff was attached, but like she couldn't do it. It was for Halloween, and it wouldn't be in time. And then we got a girl from the show Victorious to do it, and that was exciting to do something off YouTube to show that like I could do something off YouTube, and I had written that in like 2008, and like the script, and I just kind of buried it, and they were like looking for scripts. I sent them that just on a whim. They're like, yeah, we love this. So you never know what's gonna hit, right?
You are a total sitcom type of guy. I've seen you in a lot of Shane Dawson stuff. I've seen you in a lot of Black Box TV with Tony stuff, and you will basically be in anything that you can get your hands on, so long as it's good production.
Yeah, not as much anymore. I'm more of like, I say only because of time and energy, and I'm getting old, and I just don't want to do things.
Okay, then I will retract that and say between 2011 and 2013, you spent a lot of time bouncing around.
2009 and 2013, like a
lot of totally sketch stuff, right?
Oh yeah, I mean. And I wrote a lot of that Totally Sketch stuff, so my channel became like Totally Sketch Light. So, because those are things that I could just write pretty well. I mean, I love all the stuff that I've done, and I still do stuff that I'm like, I like you, or I like this, or I'm like, I'm going to get some subscribers from this. Let's be realistic. Or it's just kind of like a friend, and like I owe them a favor, and I'm just down to do it.
I always liked the characters. Whenever I see them, like, hey, I know that guy. And Smiley. I know.
Me, I mean, it's nothing. I've never taken an acting class really or anything. I've just been doing improv and live sketch for about 10 years.
But honestly, you can go to these classes, but I feel like you either have it or you don't. Like I took acting classes in college.
I'd say you could take the classes or no. It just takes practice either way.
Sure.
Well,
because everybody's fucking nervous on their first performance, whether they have it or not. Like it's just more of like a practice. Like what works, what doesn't. Like there's no artist out there that does what they do without any measure of practice.
If you can hone in on the skills that you already have, that for sure.
Sorry, I haven't spoken in a while.
I know you haven't. I know. It's nice to hear you. It's usually during a rebuttal, which I like. And I think that like I took acting classes in Orlando with some really big names, like Jenny Kopp, who taught Wayne Brady and the NSYNC, all the Carters and she did she taught them improv. She did voice and dialect with them. For me, it was more of like acting 1 and acting 2, and then directing for the camera. But it was fun to be able to do that. I never took myself seriously enough. But when I was a kid, I would look at like Tom Cruise and Tom Hanks and like big names, Brad Pitt. I go, I could do this, huh?
All the Toms.
All the Toms. And that is funny that I mentioned Tom Cruise, Hanks, and whatever. So I would sit there and I go, I can do that. And it was that I had a lot of confidence that I probably shouldn't have had, because I'm a decent actor, but I'm not like somebody that's well-versed. I can't do like 12 different accents, and I can't do I don't know my range because I didn't do it long enough. I was trying to focus on the above-the-line director, writer, producer instead of like actors or writers. Not that those are in the same category, but you know what I mean.
While we're name-dropping Toms, I met Tom Robbins once. No, Tim Robbins. Never mind, it's a Tim. Never mind, I lied.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Tony Robbins, the motivation.
Tom Robbins is an author, and I always get the two confused.
But But I guess I didn't take enough of it. But you hang out with Shane Hartline. He lived in Orlando, and he had reached out to me in 2011, and he was doing the SAC Club in Orlando, and we had met up when he was doing a podcast before I even considered doing the Hangouts, and I think I was still doing Scott a Minute. Yeah, I was, and I liked it. I liked the idea of like doing local stuff. So I would do like the 36-hour, 48-hour film races. You go.
Yeah, I've done a couple of those.
Those are fun, and somebody like you is who I'd want on my team. Somebody who can write, act, somebody who can add the jokes or know the professional side and technical side, not just being somebody to blow hot air or improv.
People kind of ask me about like success on YouTube or in general, and I think I learned that like I want to be able to know how to do a bunch of different things, so I'll always have like a value or something to offer, because you're only a vlogger. But what if nobody wants you to, like, what if there's no more vlogging? You know what I mean? Then you don't have anything to like fall back on or be able to do. So I can always bring something to the table if I collab or whatever the case may be. So it's good to have a bunch of different.
I think if your channel doesn't even really reflect completely what you do. Like I'm sure you have playlists. I haven't like studied them, but like you've been in so many different types of things that you've been on other people's channels basically more than you've been on your own, and you're well versed.
I would say including the Funny or Die and Yahoo and some break stuff. I've probably been on about total views about 1 billion. I had someone kind of do the research for me, and I've probably written about half of those, maybe a little less than half. But yeah, my channel has been kind of made to be more of like a dating, sexy, awkward relationship advice thing. So a lot of the stuff that I do that's not like that, I won't even do it anymore on my channel because nobody watches it. Frankly, you know what I mean? That sucks, but I can't watch it, and I can't blame them for not. So
I like the stuff because some of your humor is like the awkward kind of dry stuff, and then you've got a variety though. It's good. I like the series you did with Nikki for a while. I don't even know if I'm trying to think of like.
Yeah, we did.
What's that?
We did like Nikki and I have probably worked together since probably 2009 or 10. We did Sexual Activity on Totally Sketch and Interactive Sex, which is.
That was awesome. Where it's like where you're on the bed, like you have to basically determine what you're doing. Those interactive videos, I kind of miss those. Not too many people do.
That thing, that's actually I think it's just my finger. We were talking about getting like something to put up there. I was like, nobody's gonna know. I'll just use my stupid finger. So it's like the boner I think is just my finger.
Oh, don't lie. It's that small.
No, it's smaller. No, I couldn't. You
don't want to give yourself too much credit. Oh man. So, Moonshine, you probably don't know that much about Jason, so I'm going to have to show you some of his stuff. In fact,
I've caught up quickly, just over the course of this seemingly endless conversation.
Now, do you have any questions for him? So this is just.
I'm not an actual douche. I just like to be a douche to Scott. I don't know what it is. Don't judge me by how I act here tonight.
Well, I think we give it to each other, so it's okay. It's friendly.
We actually talked about doing a video on my channel already.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's how fast I work. I work so fast.
Very quickly. So I'm going to ask our third wheel. Do you have any questions for Jason? Haven't you felt like a third wheel in this conversation?
No. I've been enjoying listening. I have a few questions. I just I don't know. I'll ask those later.
Okay, cool. That'll be what is that in the premium version is we have to pay.
Yes. That's the after show.
No idea. That's
VIP like thing.
What I did know, my most recent video was about C-string thongs, which is a thong without straps around, like just looks like a headband basically for your crotch, and. Right? And I was like, so I'm going to do a review of these, but I almost guarantee I'm not going to be able to post it on YouTube, and I don't want my channel to have a strike against it because that is a motherfucking pain in the ass.
Oh, I know about that.
Yeah.
And so what I'll do is I'll just make the video, and I was like, follow me on social media if you want to find out more. about, like how you can see this video that's going to be too hot for YouTube. And like 150 new like Twitter followers later, I was like, really? Is that all I had to say to get a bunch of new followers? That's ridiculous. They're probably going to be disappointed when they find out they're going to have to pay for a video with a potential vag slip in it.
But there's a question in the comment section.
I'm looking. I was going to ask you. Okay, so there's a couple here for Jason. If you guys have any questions, he's about to leave. He's going to be back on the show. Don't freak out.
10 minutes in heaven. I'm going to call this 10 minutes in heaven.
All right, so the first question is, what's your favorite video or sketch that you've ever made? I'm guessing that doesn't include just necessarily YouTube. It's wherever it is.
Sure. You know what I really liked? A lot of stuff I did as exciting on Totally Sketch. But one I really liked making was this one called Interactive Spin the Bottle, because myself and one of the best comedians out there, character kind of comedians, a guy named Tony Cavallero, who's done a lot of stuff on YouTube, and we played 14-year-olds, and so we're playing Spin the Bottle for the first time, and it was just funny to like suspend our disbelief and like we're 15, and even though like we were probably older than the girls in the video, but them being these older college girls and us being 14, which is kind of creepy age-wise if you think about it, but it was just so fun to do that because he makes me laugh so much. And we did another video on Totally Sketch called Whipped, where we were acting opposite each other. We were making ourselves laugh. This is when I was with Maker, and I was like a writer for Maker and working with Maker. So the whole crew's there, and we were making ourselves laugh so much, and they were getting so pissed off. We had to shoot the scenes separately, and somebody feed the lines, because just looking at each other, we were laughing at each other so hard, and like that doesn't always happen.
No, but sometimes you get the case of the giggles, and it's like, oh my God.
Honestly, it's like it gives me such joy that somebody makes me laugh so much, and it's not me thinking I'm so funny. It's because I like to surround myself with people that are hilarious, cool, and better looking than me. And when that like happens, I'm like, doesn't feel like work at all. I don't care how late it is, how hungry I am, how hot it is, whatever the case may be. How many you've done 100 takes. So videos like that really are always my favorite. Those are two examples.
Okay, no, that's a great answer, and it's proof that like you are what you surround yourself with. So if you're surrounding yourself with good-looking people who are funny, that make you laugh, and you kind of vibe off of each other's positive energy, then that's great. Okay, here's a question for Jason. What advice would you have for an up-and-coming stuntman, since you have done a stunt or two?
Well, I've done like a lot of jiu-jitsu, and I do CrossFit, and I've done like Tough Mudder and stuff like that. And so I'm relatively like not coordinated in sports, but I'm relatively athletic, and you never know who's want you to do stunts. But doing anything like gymnastics, like tumbling and balancing and all that kind of stuff is always really great. But also, it's like, don't hurt yourself for nothing. You know what I mean? Don't do something where you're going to put yourself in some kind of like, for some stupid video. No offense to whoever's making the video, but like, you only got one of you. Like, I hurt my back when I was 16, and I never really recovered from it, because I used to go to hardcore shows and jump off the stage and stuff like that, and I hurt my back. I mean, at that time it was worth it, but just make sure what you're doing is worth it, because you need to preserve yourself if you want to work in that position for a long time. Like, take care of yourself and don't take unnecessary risks.
That is a great point. Oh man. Okay, so out of your writing, acting, we'll even include stunts, anything that you've done, what do you see yourself doing most of in the future, say in the next 5-10 years? Yeah, I guess just that.
Okay, so like I kind of been talking about this because I'm like a little bit on the older end of, well, I'm a lot on the older end of YouTube. I actually want to, and you can probably see it from my videos, I don't want to really act in YouTube videos as time goes on, especially my own.
You want your own writing to come out with other people, so it's sort of.
I'd rather just I want to make stuff, take my ideas for other people, and it's very weird when you see people like act what you've written. Like I did a bunch of pilot reads because I have a TV pilot out there and a web series that's in development outside of YouTube, and like that's very exciting, and it's really risky because I was like, I know YouTube, like if I want to make a video like who farted, like I can make that video and I don't care who doesn't like it or not because I can make it and I can greenlight the whole thing. But other things that you put a lot of time and energy, like I wrote a film for the executive producer of The Dark Knight, which was like a very scary thing, and it was based on one of my pilots. So like I'm hoping something happens with that. And I mean I do want to act like, you know, TV. Hopefully might be doing some TV and stuff like that. But no offense to YouTube because I love it, but me acting in YouTube videos, I'm hoping kind of goes the other way instead of this way.
Yeah.
I still want to make stuff on YouTube, but I don't want my ugly fat face to be the center of it. I want my ideas and what I think is funny to be, but not necessarily. I'm not very me-centric in that sense.
And it's interesting to see people like Freddie Wong who gets attention from YouTube or from Hollywood directors, and then he can incorporate his style of work on and off YouTube and do like short stuff that would promote movies, and they would use him kind of like on the YouTube platform to promote their movies, and it works well. I could see you taking what you've done on and off of YouTube and the screen, and you are meant for like an improv, you know, like Whose Line Is It Anyway, or even a TV show like That 70s Show or, you know, Big Bang Theory, those sort of things. You are a perfect character. Even The League, I could totally see you as being like, you know, the awkward guy that doesn't know anything about sports, but
I auditioned for all those shows. I auditioned. Don't believe me. I've gotten in front of the people. It's just a matter of like, you know, it's just like you're not. I'm a dime a dozen in LA, and I know that. But I'm hoping that, you know, somebody will kind of see something in me.
But not all those comedians can actually tell their own jokes. You know, like not a lot of them. And actors who have to take other lines and interpret it a certain way don't always own the character the way you can. So maybe
doing like
you're more of a typecast, but I think you're more versatile than that. I don't think you get.
Listen, typecast me. I don't care. That means I'm working.
That's true. That is absolutely true.
You know.
That is true. We have another question here before you go. It is from Dimitri, and he says, you said you were a comedian. Have you ever done stand-up? If so, any advice for possible future stand-up?
Okay, so it's funny. So especially in LA, like people assume I do stand-up. Like they assume that I do stand-up before they assume that I'm male. And I've never ever done actual stand-up. I've done stand-up as a character, and I've written stand-up for people, but I am not a huge fan of stand-up for me because I'm not very me-centric. I like to be around other awesome people, like part of a group, like a sketch group, or doing improv. But, however, I do feel like if I was going to, what I like in stand-up, and I think what people like in stand-up, is people being sincere about what they're joking about. Like, the people that just tell a story that people can relate to. And if you can get there and tell us, it doesn't have to be like this kind of like punchline, like, man, I was banging this chick last night, like that kind of stuff, because it's like, people who really do that don't actually say that, and we know it's kind of fake. But people that could just be themselves and be sincere and have a real point of view, and get up and do the open mics and do that. It's all stage time. It's like a box, you know, somebody could punch really great, but if they're not in that ring, moving around that ring, they're going to get knocked out. So, do those open mics, get on stage. I love improv. I mean, a lot of improvisers do stand-up and vice versa. You know, just get up on that stage in front of people. I've gone to the VidCons and I've gotten in front of like 5,000 people. Love it. If I was in an audition today and like the directors were there and stuff like that, and it was like 4 people there, and I wasn't nervous, but I was more nervous in front of 4 people than I am in front of 4,000 or 5,000 people. I don't know why that is.
I think you feed off their energy, and they're not going to judge you as harshly as a director who you are going to have to tell your part, and it's a make or break. You know,
yeah, exactly.
On the stage, you screw up, you've got people around you to kind of bounce off of, and you can dwindle, go away and fade away if you wanted. Here,
it's exactly the same at the strip club. I'll tell you that. It is way easier to dance naked in front of like 50 dudes than it is in front of like those
Private
two like straggling pervs. I was gonna say dorks, pervs, definitely.
See, this is automatically more interesting than what I'm talking about. So, but yeah, I mean, just get up there and do the work, man. It's like people don't just be doctors. It's not like I want to be a doctor, so I'm a doctor. Be a stand-up. Do it. Do that thing and put in that time and work. I've been doing live stage stuff for 10+ years, and even now I feel like I'm still taking the first steps, like on a very long journey. Just put in the time, do the work.
And if you stick with it, like I've never looked at myself as someone who's funny. I think I'm goofy and I can be the brunt of a joke and make people laugh. Making people laugh and smile is more important than actually trying to be funny. Just letting it happen is obviously best. I'm one of 5 boys. My older brother Kenny was always kind of like the comedian, if you will. But over time, I guess I've kind of overshadowed him, and that was never really intentional. I'm just an attention whore. But you're right. You're absolutely right. If you can be around people and they make you laugh, and it also depends. If somebody likes you, they're gonna find you funny. Like if a girl likes you, she'll laugh at anything you say. You ever notice that? Like even if it wasn't funny, they laugh because it's kind of like they have their little crush or whatever. If you can get people to do that, like you have an audience, awesome. Welcome, Jared. Oh, look, he's got the sun.
Jared's picking up where I left off.
I know, right? Look at you West Coasters over here. You guys have the sun out still. It's been down here for a while.
I mean, the sun is out here, but it's at an angle that's not the sun you're seeing. I have a big old light.
Yeah. For me, it's almost 10 o'clock, and the sun's been down for 2 hours.
I gotta take off now, Scott.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, Jared, wants to say hi.
We will be in touch. I will be in town either the 9th, the 13th, or the 16th.
We will make a video.
Yes, and we will make it awkwardy advicey type stuff because it seems like we have a lot in common in that.
I'm pretty sure that you guys would do, your audiences would cross over quite well because he talks about like relationships and kind of sexual stuff and awkwardness and I think you can do the same thing. Perfect. Well, at the very least.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah. Jay said it was a pleasure having you on here. It was way too quick. We could probably talk for an hour.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to getting on again. Jared, what's up, brother? Yeah, all this stuff. All right, I'm going to go, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, thank you. We'll see you again soon.
Bye.
For those of you that don't know, Jason was a semester agent along with Jared and myself. So Jared, should we call you Oban or Oban or how does it?
I've been trying to get all my friends to call me Daddy, but no one seems to be doing it. Everyone's really opposed to calling me Daddy.
Well, Daddy, it's good to see you.
Scott will do it. Hold on, I need more wine for this.
Oh, I need some more wine.
No, but the other thing is, I'll refer to myself as Daddy in third person, so it'd be like, Daddy's got to go to the bathroom.
Oh my God, that's kind of awkward and kind of awesome. So, how's the West Coast treating you, man? It's been several weeks since I've seen your forehead.
Yeah, dude, I haven't made a video
I was looking down, that's why I always see it.
I haven't made a video in like 2 months. So, fun fact, I got mono. So I was literally like dead for like a month and a half.
See, I was off of Facebook for 6 weeks, and I didn't really. I did social media, but it was mainly Twitter, and I don't really check my timeline, so I wouldn't have known that. And you never.
I didn't post it anywhere. I didn't post it anywhere.
Damn, you're a champ. So, wow. So, how have you recovered? How has it been? And I know other people who have mononucleosis before, and it's a pain in the ass.
Dude, it's awful. Like literally, you don't have any energy. Like no energy, zero energy, and your throat hurts like so bad.
Is mono kind of like the chickenpox where you can only get it
like mono.
times?
Yes. Once you get it, from my understanding, once you get it, you got it. That's it.
Yeah.
Also,
you have mono?
What?
Is that why you were sick? Do you have mono?
I did. It was real fun. It was real fun.
Man. Well, okay. Well, now that you're past that, how is?
Well, no, it's like the chickenpox. You have it forever now. He has mono forever.
Yeah, but it's not. You can't give it to people once like.
I don't believe that. I'm gonna never ever touch you again. We can't even hug, dude.
Oh, again. I like how he added how she added the again.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've hugged you a few times.
Yeah.
So when's the last time you guys hung out? Because you're not too far from each other, right?
Well, we were going
He's too busy, and then he's super sick, and then like I don't know. I'll be in the city actually sometime this weekend. One of my best friends in the world is moving back, and I'm so excited.
Cool.
What?
Cool.
I don't know if you said ooh or who.
Cool.
Cool, or that. Cool. What's the discovery life like?
Dude, it's swagged out to the max.
Swagged out. Look at you and yeah, man. Okay, so you want to elaborate?
Nah, man. I mean, I'm going to VidCon for free. Granted, I have to work the entire time, but
Are they flying you down?
Yeah.
Do you already have a flight?
Yep.
God damn it.
And I've got a hotel room. And it's
No, I just wanted to be like, get in my car with me and make them pay for the gas and we could road trip.
Or I could like take a 45-minute.
Oh wait, never mind. I can't fucking do that because I'm going down to LA on like the 9th, so fuck.
I just realized that this is the 5th year of VidCon already.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Look how tan I'm getting in preparation for that. So tan.
I've gone, if that's 10 for you, wow. I've gone twice, the first 2, and then I've basically, just like Playlist, the first 2, and then I haven't gone since. And I've got a wedding that weekend. June 28th, I have a wedding in Buffalo, so I'm kind of bummed I can't go, but I'm gonna make Bufferfest in October, and I'm gonna do my best to hit Playlist because it's been a year and a half since I've been. Basically, since I moved away from Orlando, I haven't gone back, and I'd love to do that. So it'd be nice to see you guys in person and touch you.
Yeah.
Jared's okay with that. I did see you in Chicago before you moved. So okay,
yeah.
So you've lived in Tennessee, you've lived in Chicago, and now you live out in California, huh?
Yeah, swagged out.
Nice.
No, dude, I'm super stoked because so 2 things I would like to discuss. Number 1, the YouTube channel I work on, we might be hitting 1 million subscribers before VidCon. It's looking like we probably won't.
Sorry, I had to. So 1 million subscribers. What did it have before you started sort of managing?
About 350.
Wow.
But now we're closing in on 1 million, and I'm really stoked because, I mean, everyone that works in the team is so good. And so I'm just... Second thing, do you guys know Matthew Santoro is the 2nd fastest growing YouTuber on YouTube next to PewDiePie right now?
Obviously.
God damn!
Yeah, he's been
He was
blowing
fourth
up.
the other day. He's 2nd now? Wow.
He's the 2nd fastest growing YouTuber next to Pewds.
No shit. That is nuts.
It's crazy.
He was supposed to be here tonight. I don't even know what happened to Chucky. He's MIA. But here's the thing about Santoro, and he asked me. It was nice that he actually asked me because he was like, "So Sky, have I made you proud since 4 years ago when you found me?" And I'm like, you know what? I am damn proud. And he's been lost at times, and then he's asked not only me but like our group. He's like, "You think I should try this or that?" And like he was trying to do like lists every other or every 3rd video and mix it up with like a vlog or like a advice video, and those never really stuck out. He enjoyed the mix, and I think his audience did, but he was like, I gotta stick with my guns, and because he didn't want to be YouTube typecasted, and then he got people in the community that were doing lists like All Time Tens and some of these other people that do the BuzzFeed sort of thing, and once they caught on and started sharing it, he built this core audience that just blew up, and every Saturday he'd upload a video and gain 20 to 25,000 subscribers, and on the off days he's still gaining 10 to 15,000 a day. So that's great because.
Are you talking subscribers? Because now that his super nerd YouTube stuff, his fan finder's activated, and he's getting like 20,000 a day.
Yeah, and yeah, well, he's humble. I think he's trying to stay out of the clouds, that cloud 9. But to go from somebody like him who has a master's degree, worked in accounting for years, got laid off, kind of was trying to figure out what he wanted to do with his life, whether it was YouTube, whether it was filming wedding videos, whether it was going back into accounting somewhere else, and sticking to his guns of doing YouTube and having a schedule. And he only posts one video a week, but it's quality, and he puts a lot of work on it, and he spends 3 or 4 days on it. He doesn't settle for less, and that is living proof that if you have consistency, a schedule, a thought that you execute, you can do that. And he wasn't getting subscribers for years, but because he didn't do it for the money came eventually. And right now he's loving life, you know, and I think that's fantastic. And I couldn't think of anybody who deserves it more, you know. The guy has put a lot of work into it. So yeah, of course he's blowing up. Yay, Matthew Santoro. Now his ass needs to stay humble and join this fucking show and stop acting like a little bitch. He said he was in. I wonder if he fell asleep or something came up.
No, I just said something in the chat, and both Matt and Chucky have seen it. And then, do they not know we can see when they've seen stuff?
What the hell? The two guys that are always, you know, claiming that they're going to be here aren't here at all. Weird. I think we need to fire them. What do you think, Moonshine? Should we fire him?
I'm not.
You're not allowed on this free show anymore.
I don't give a shit.
Oh, man.
I don't give a shit who shows up and who doesn't.
Moonshine, you know, when you hit the milestone of 10,000, you're like, woohoo, right? It's like you got to break past that 5-digit number, and it's nice. And then this dude's over here fucking gaining that much a day. You just blink and he's already surpassed your total amount. It's like, whoa. So it's pretty surreal. The guy's on a freaking. I hope it keeps going, but eventually people hit that plateau. But with this type of thing, in 2014, I should just say the millennials love a list. They love simple things that are kind of here they are, and here's a.
Well, and I'm kind of in the same stage Matt was when he was first starting. Like I mean, the cosplay thing was a good idea, but it was ultimately sustainable. The stripper videos, they get me views sometimes, most of the time. I mean, they do well, but is that really what I want my channel to be like all about for the rest of forever? Like, like maybe this channel. Oh, it just took me calling him out. Moonshine Bonanza might just be the stripper channel. It might just be about time for me to like start something for not Moonshine Bonanza. Get my drift?
Yeah.
But it just all depends on if I get the idea and if I think it's viable and blah 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 blah.
No. Oh, Chucky's in here. I guess he probably heard us. Hey, Chucky, welcome.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, how are you? Sorry, I was running around and just got. It's weird now that I'm in a different time zone. Now I understand how. It's like, wow, it's oh shit, 6 o'clock. Oh shit, 7 o'clock, and you know, it was easier when it was back in East Coast time. It's like, oh fuck, 9 o'clock, nothing's going on. I'll do a hangout. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's true. I'll have to start using the 6 PST thing. By the way, a viewer in the comments was correcting me and saying, hey Scott, it's no longer EST, which is Eastern Standard Time, it's EDT for Eastern Daylight Time. I'm like, is it really any different? It's the same shit.
Yeah, I got, like, so, humble brag, I was in a hangout with NASA the other day, and they kept correcting
With NASA?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they kept correcting me when I would say PST, because it's PDT now.
Whatever.
But isn't it the same? How is it any different? Because we're not doing the hour ahead or spring ahead, fall back sort of thing. Is that where the difference is?
No, it's like
So.
it's just depending on when daylight savings time is happening.
Okay, so like the first 6 months of the year, it's PST. The second, or sorry, PDT. Interesting. I just assumed they were the same damn thing, like, you know, tomato. So I guess I never really paid attention to the time zone thing. Because technically it's still, the time hasn't changed on the same Pacific Coast, or time zone. Anyway, so Chucky, that shirt, that Italian Stallion shirt, is that yours? Is that obviously it's yours? You're wearing it, but is that your T-shirt that you sell?
It was a God, I think it was a birthday present years ago, and I just never. God, I just never wore it. It's like one of those things. Like, never wore it.
Why didn't you sell that on your? Why don't you sell that on your District Line shirt or whatever you have?
Dude, I'm getting rid of District Lines. I don't even like that company.
Okay. Okay. So if you have shirts and you're going to sell them, you should sell the Italian Stallion.
It's not my design. It's already been out there. It's been out there for years.
Dude, I went through the other day. There was something trending that was people say to me or whatever. And for me, it was like Sylvester Stallone. I get people that often say it. And honestly, I am 0% Italian. Your hair is darker than mine. You could easily pull off the Rocky Balboa look. And for me, all I have is a crooked smile. And maybe I don't know.
And face paralysis, I was just going to say.
Yeah, he's got the partial face paralysis, which is what people didn't like until they realized it was unique. And then he started doing his own shows and whatnot.
The interesting thing about him.
My smile is crooked.
Interesting thing about him is when he was shopping that script, he saw, I believe it was the Chuck Wepner story, who is basically who Rocky Balboa was modeled after, because I think he got to fight Muhammad Ali, and even though he lost the fight, I think he finally got knocked out in the 15th round. Nobody believed that nobody could go the distance with the champ, or make it as far as he did. And that screenplay, even though a lot of people give him shit, and he has done a bunch of really bad movies, no lie, but that screenplay, if you've ever read it, Scotty, is a textbook. They actually use that in screenplay writing classes.
I took screenwriting and advanced screenwriting for Hollywood, and you're right. I mean, you've read a lot of scripts.
Because he won an Academy Award for that screenplay, and it's a textbook screenplay. It's like, if you're this is how you write a screenplay, and they were actually using, and I didn't know. That was the weird thing about it. I didn't know if he had studied screenwriting or if he just had an amazing story and knew how to do it in 3-act structure. You know what else is an amazing screenplay if you've never read it? And he's a brilliant writer, so you kind of expect it. Aaron Sorkin, A Few Good Men.
So did you know that Sylvester Stallone got so poor ass that he sold his dog, and then after Rocky hit it big, he went and found his dog and purchased him back for 10 times what he sold it for?
He literally gave that guy. He got rid of it. He had to sell Butkus, and he went back and bought him back for 10 or 15 G's. If you are a fan of that franchise, if you watch the final one, Rocky Balboa, it harkens back to the original, and it was really, really good, a good story. And
I thought it was great closure for the 6th.
He tried to put both the characters to bed, Scotty, Rambo and Rocky, but the Rambo one didn't quite work out. It was but it had its moments. But
man,
at the
it was
end,
gory. Holy crap!
Yeah, it was really. And I worked with somebody who worked on his because it was shot in Thailand, and one of the women I was working with said I was working with Sylvester Stallone in that movie, and she goes, he figured out that in Thailand you can't yell. If you raise your voice, even if you're right, you're wrong. That's just part of the culture. So he realized early on that he couldn't scream at the Thai crew. He had to talk to them. But he could yell at the Americans if he had to. And she said, Van Damme hasn't figured that out yet, because Van Damme very passionate, and he just, like a lot of directors, when he says something, you have to do this, that, and they don't know. He didn't quite get the cultural thing. And she said, Van Damme hasn't figured it out yet. That if you raise your voice, somebody told me, they said the Italian thing is not going to work in Thailand. You start using your hands and raising your voice, even though you're not angry, they're going to start just slowly backing away, because if you yell, they think you're crazy. It's the weirdest thing, Scott.
That makes sense, though. I mean,
that's it.
That is different. Body language shows a lot, and if we're used to projecting ourselves a certain way, then the mannerisms can come across.
I'll be right back.
I like the chair, Moonshine, and I like your hair up like that. You look very 40s. It's very cool.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This is my new, it's
I dig
really
that.
fucking hot out hairstyle.
Yeah.
Jared. Jared. What's up with your bad self? What have you been up to?
You know, Daddy's been good. Daddy's been having some.
He wasn't here. Chucky, he's referring to himself in the third person as Daddy, and he wants everybody else to do it too, so you must comply.
I don't see why our private life can't become public, Daddy. So what have you been up to, dude?
You know, just swagging.
I don't know what that means. I like your hair like that though. So where's Santoro?
Yeah.
That's a damn good question because he's like, I'm in, and then maybe he started jerking off and he takes a very long time to
Is
do
he
it.
famous or something now? Jeez.
I know, he's too good for us. He's got too many subscribers for us.
Well, all I can say is that what I'm most interested in is how is his life different? What is he doing different? How is he approaching?
Buying new computers is what he's doing.
Dude.
Apparently, that's the highlight of his life.
That computer, man.
Yeah, I had a problem with my computer, and I wanted to update my operating system, and then I screwed something up, and then I had to reload everything, and now I haven't even started using the newer iMovie or the iMovie.
Wait, did you do a hard reset on your iMac?
I fucked something up, and I thought I was doing it the right way, and I did it the different way.
All that porn?
Huh?
I said you lost all of that porn?
Well, no, I backed up all my important files, but then I lost my screenwriting program, so I had to contact the screenwriting, and one friend was nice enough to, I use Final Draft and Movie Maker. So I had to contact Movie Maker, but they were like, where did you, because I remember buying it from them and registering it and everything, and I had the right email address, but then I was like, I don't remember. And they said, where do you think your address was? And I had several addresses, and I gave them, they said, here's your security code. And I was like, oh, thank God, because I would have lost all those scripts and da-da-da-da, and I was, just, I've been spending less and less time on social media and more time on trying to get my life back in order. And one of the things I've been doing is I wanted to get back into writing again. Not that I'm ever going to sell a fucking screenplay, but it's good, and and working out and trying to train, and I'm trying to get back into like performing and everything. Because I came to the conclusion that living your life is better than reading about other people living theirs, basically. And I'm just trying to get into it. And I was talking to a friend of mine. I said, wow, is it me, or is Facebook really starting to just get ridiculous? And she goes, I'm so over it. And if I get to see one more post how people actually thought that Mr. Rogers was a Navy SEAL and all the stuff right now with the guy who did the Santa Barbara shooting, and tough time to be a rich white kid, apparently. It's just ridiculous. And now I'm getting sick and tired of politics and just the other stuff, and people looking at their phones instead of paying attention to me. It's unreal. It's crazy.
So Chucky, I haven't made any sort of like public announcement on this yet, but I'm going to just say it now because nobody's watching. I have put a lot of thought into it for the last year and a half, and I'm going to start a new channel. And it's not going to be a Scottiman, it's not going to be a vlogging channel, it's not going to be a Buck Scott Kid Martin. It's going to be a show. Santoro has his own thing. He infuses his personality, so technically it can't just be anybody because his research is unique. But it could be, in a sense. He could have somebody else fill in, just like Ray used to do with his stuff, Braylon Johnson. But with this, I'm going to be a curator of new information that you may not have known before, and it's going to be kind of like a combination of like some of the Twitter handles you see, YouTube shows. Rob's working on his Why Would You Put That on the Internet, and right now he's doing the Seriously Strange, and he's got a new one coming out every Wednesday, of course, which is why he's not here anymore. And I want to do my own like that. I want to be proud of something, and I haven't been proud of anything I've made on YouTube in a long time, which is why you go to my YouTube channel. And I just, like the other day, hit 34,000. Nice. 2 years ago, I hit 33,000. And then I stopped making videos, except for the occasional bullshit. And and the first 68 episodes of LIGO was on my main channel. But then I privated them, or not privated, I unlisted them and made a playlist. So if you guys want to watch those episodes, a majority of them are privated unless they were like a really popular one. I kind of left it public. Once again, not private, unlisted. So the reason why I'm telling you this is I'm going to always have this channel, or my Scott Camarda TV channel, for like occasional things. I've even got some Fiesta Movement videos I still want to post.
Dude,
I want to do the show. What's that?
Just do it.
I will. A lot of the reason why I want to start over, though, is I kind of want to hit the reset, and I want to be proud of everything that's on there. With Scott Camarda TV, I'd have to literally private like all 180 videos. I'm not really proud of any of them. And if you remember back in 2011, I had a character named Lance, and it was obviously kind of making fun of people that make fun of gays, but also it was just different. And gays and women loved it, but I still get hounded for it. It was meant to be a one-video spin-off, like Super Ed 86 had these fake characters that he would bring in and introduce one time, and maybe do a second or third one on it. And then I ended up making 9 episodes of it, and then when that became like what people knew me most for, I didn't like that because it was like a joke that I took too far. Same with like Eddie. I think I did 3 or 4, and that was like a spin-off of people from my hometown, and I kind of channeled that energy and that style. I don't want to do that anymore. Like Jason Horton, who's a comedian who was on here earlier, he doesn't really do stand-up. He does more improv, and he does acting, and he's very good at
that.
what he does.
I'm sorry I couldn't be here earlier, and I wanted to be. I would have liked to have talked to him about that stuff. So
we will gladly have him back on. He's going to be working with Moonshine. He's a great guy. I think I'll have him and Shane Hartline on at the same time. Another friend of mine from Orlando who now lives in LA and is good friends with Jason because they're very similar in sense of humor and style. I think you should definitely be here for that, and I think we'll have something there. Chucky,
one of the oh, go ahead, brother.
Before you leave today, we've got to bring on a guest named, he goes by Dimitri. He's got a lot of questions for you. I brought him on the last 2 shows, but you haven't shown up, so I want to have him on just to kind of let him ask his questions. So anybody who has questions for Chucky, when we do go to this guy coming on to ask you, I want to let you.
I've got questions. I've got questions for the Chuckster.
Go ahead.
HR.
What's your favorite thing?
My favorite.
His penis.
My favorite thing, to be honest with you, at this point in my life, is difficult. I'm actually trying to. I started doing a lot of thinking about what I want to do, and I realized that at some point I diverged from what I want to do, and it became something else. And right now, like I said, I'm just trying to get back on the stage because one of the happiest I can ever remember being is when I was just performing, and it wasn't about trying to be famous and trying to have a lot of friends and a lot of likes and a lot of this and a lot of that and a lot of shares. It was just about going up on stage and doing something that makes you or just doing what makes you happy. And I'm sadly just, I'm at the point right now, and I remember somebody else had said that. I think it was Joe Rogan. He goes, you get to a point in your life where there's more behind you than there is in front of you. And you decide you want to live your life a certain way because it's like, you know what, when you blur through your 20s, and maybe even you can do the same thing now with your 30s. I've seen people start new careers well in their 40s and they just do that. You know what I mean? I know people who, Scotty does too, I bet. Guys who got out of high school, went into the military or police or whatever, put in 20 years, retired. Now they're like, 20 years later, they're sitting there going, Jesus, I got 20 years in. I'm 38 years old. Now what the fuck am I going to do? I've got my pension. So you can actually do that, but you can, I don't know how old you are, Jared. What are you, 20?
37.
37? You can blow through your 20s and not even feel it, and a lot of us do.
You
know what I mean?
The age of 22 kind of flew by, and that was like the fastest year of my life.
It only gets faster, and
I was just going to say, once you get past 25, it just goes. It's weird. Your perception of time changes.
I will never forget. I'm turning 32 this Friday, and
is it this Friday?
Yeah, it's in 2 days, and
happy birthday.
I will never forget the feeling of being lost and kind of aggravated and annoying when I turned 30. I felt like I hit an early midlife crisis because I remember standing in my backyard. I had a floodlight on me. It was dark out. I was in front of a palm tree. There were crickets, and I was trying to make a vlog about why I wanted to change directions with my life. And I had just gone through a breakup of a girl who was 4 years younger than me, and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I need to figure this shit out. And I was so aggravated that resonated with me for like the next 6 months, and ultimately made me want to move home. And I wanted to catch up with family for 1 to 3 years and then move out west. And that's still my plan. I'm a year and a half in. I've got a year and a half to figure it out, and I think in the next 6 months I will be gone.
It took me almost 3 years of living as cheaply as I possibly could, and to save enough money to try to start over. And coming out here to start over again, when I just felt the thing with when I was back in Buffalo was I felt like I was the biggest failure in the world because I kept thinking to myself, every life decision I made brought me here, and I don't like here. So I had to walk backwards and figure out not what you did, but why did you do it? Were you motivated by fear? Were you motivated by self-interest, selfishness, things like that? Why did you decide to do whatever you did? Why did I pursue this? Why did I pursue that? Why didn't I pursue that? Why didn't I just shut up and do that? Everything would have been fine. And just try to figure out why so that I could move forward, because if I'm faced with the same situation or any decision, I want to be able to come from the best possible place. And like I said, it was when I was 20, I must have been 22. It was about Jared's age. When I was about 22, 23 years old, when I was about that age, there was a training program, Scotty, that would have lasted 3 years. That may as well have been 300 years to me. And I said, that's too long. I can't even imagine doing something. Now, if something were to take 3 years, I'd be like, I could do that standing on my head. I fucking got a master's. I got this. I did that. Yeah, it's just what you do at some point. And I just feel like I don't ever think that's a bad thing. And that was, the whole thing with when I first started doing YouTube videos and everything, it was just out of desperation. I had nothing else to do. And then you're like, well, I guess I'm doing this now, and I guess YouTube is this. And then you start seeing, and the way you break down YouTube, and it was Jared who was the one who said to me, Chuck, in 5 years, YouTube as we know it is not going to exist. And I don't even think it's going to make it to that 5-year mark, Jared. I really don't. And I started looking around, and I said, well, you've got a couple of different types of YouTubers out there. You've got the ones who just do social commentary and rants. You've got people who do the how-to videos, people who do animation and original content and things like that. And those are people out there. There's still some amazing channel work out there. Like I posted that fucking Devin Supertramp video. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. He's become a friend behind the scenes. I talked to him. He'll share his videos with me before he publishes them.
Dude.
And the guy, it blows my mind. Here's the thing. If you find your thing and that's what it is, he obviously loves outdoor activities and sports and nature. So he combines all them with his cinematography work. And he gets paid to go to Aruba and different countries and go to Australia.
Also, the music that he uses to set the mood.
Original music, and he cuts to it. It's perfect. These people are making songs for his videos now.
And again, people like I did a couple of characters. I know you've done characters, Maddie and stuff like that. There are people out there, like I had mentioned to you guys before. There's no reason why Hart shouldn't be looking up into a camera someday and saying live from New York. It's Saturday night, and I keep saying, what are you going to do? What will YouTube transition to? What can you transition? Like, for example, Maddie. Maddie had a specific plan, worked his plan, did it really well. He's doing good, but as I told him, I said, where are you going to go from here? Did you still want to be an actor? Do you want to get into hosting? You know what I mean? I was just like, I'm still, Sassy Bob. There's no reason why Sassy Bob shouldn't have she shouldn't be featured on E! Entertainment News, where it's like once a week they're like, and now here's Sassy Bob and what's hot.
She's on a channel that, if I'm not mistaken, is run by the Game Show Network.
I don't know.
Well,
but
I don't know. I don't know if that she's on door 3. I'm not sure if that's the affiliation or not, but I'm pretty sure they're being run by someone.
I've
the
always
weird
thought
thing about it is I'm finding, Scotty, is that I'm not seeing people transition off of YouTube into mainstream as much as I thought I would. I'm sure it's happening. Yes,
You're seeing both
absolutely.
happen. You're seeing mainstream go to YouTube, and you're seeing YouTube go to mainstream.
Well, what about The Fault in Our Stars?
Yeah, and look, well, he was a writer.
Yeah, but he's a fucking New York Times bestselling writer, but
you've got like Epic
but
Meal.
given the millions, I'm talking, given the talent pool we're talking about, dude, it's a small percentage.
Yeah, but okay, Epic Mealtime started out with Harley was at Wendy's, and he took a triple baconator and bought 2 or 3 of them and put it on a pizza. And he goes, "Damn, that's a show idea." They started Epic Mealtime. Now he's in the middle of filming a bunch of for his show, a pilot that he's got, Epic Meal Empire, and it's Empire. It just blows me away that, like, sure, he's not getting the views he used to, but now he's going mainstream, and he's going to be in front of an audience even bigger than YouTube.
Yeah,
and
but my point is, though, that given how many, I'm not seeing that transition as much as I thought I would, as many as I thought I would.
Commercials.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's YouTubers who have done commercials.
Yeah,
for sure.
she would be better for that. I didn't like the Camp Dakota, but I'm hoping that they're that won't preclude them from ever doing something like that again. But I think that it's. I just wanted to, it was something, and believe it or not, it was something Jared said when he was like, "Dude, this isn't really going to be much of the website as you know it isn't going to be here like this in 5 years. We don't know what it's going to turn into."
I actually know like what's going to happen in the next year or so, and it's going to be super interesting. YouTube's they're trying to phase out the vlogger. Vlogging will eventually come to an end. And they're really focusing on high production content, specifically education.
How-to education.
Well, good. The thing that I'm doing would be perfect because I'm educating people to do information.
Education, whether it's science education or.
Now, what about the whole gaming thing? Are they really trying to put the kibosh on that, or is that never going away?
It's never going away.
Well, they just bought. They allegedly bought the streaming. Twitch, yeah, they for like $1 billion, and then
they're still in talks, but it's a lot of money.
But
I'm told that Twitch is very hard to use and very finicky, and I hope that the purchase goes through, and I hope YouTube can like bring some of the ease. But I mean, not that YouTube always makes things easy, but apparently Twitch is like a damn labyrinth.
Is this Dimitri?
Yes, he had some questions for you.
We can't hear you, buddy. Can we hear you? Say something.
You're not here. You need to turn your audio on.
His audio's on. We can barely
hear you.
Hold on. I can turn them up on my end.
The control room thing.
All right, I'm here. Go ahead and talk. No, I can't hear him at all.
I can't hear him at all.
Nah.
See if you're muted, dude.
You know what? I'll mute him. And now unmute yourself. Say something?
Say something, brother.
Nope. All right. Above, on the top of the screen, you're going to see a gear box for settings. Click on that gizmo, and then you can actually go to your microphone and change it up. Damn, I've been holding this microphone for the last hour, and I didn't even have this all connected.
I was just going to say, it's not even on because you can hear all the room noise.
All right, is this a lot better now?
Can you hear me?
I can't believe I without it. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Scotty, before I say anything else, I just want to say thank you for putting up with me this long.
You're welcome. Thanks for putting up with us, as every other viewer has.
And I would also like to say, Scotty, I know you're not going to let me on like every episode.
Definitely not.
But don't be surprised if you get like one message from me a week. Just that.
That's fine. I don't mind having like regular, like I don't mind bringing on people that are willing to come on and have something to add, and you do. A lot of viewers will harass me, and then they have no videos. I can't measure anything on them, and a lot of times we don't start doing.
He's got a video now. Yeah.
True.
I got one, and that was like 3 weeks ago. I'm so pissed at myself because I haven't done anything since. I've just been busy, and I haven't really thought of anything good.
Well,
You know?
either way, I invite any viewer that wants to come on. I don't want to be a snob about it, but you've got to be able to bring something to the table. So that means I'm going to send you the link before the show starts, and have you test it, not you, but like in general. And if people are shy or don't, a lot of times they just sit there and watch. We don't need an extra box down bottom to clutter with more people.
Yeah, I know. Because, I mean, like, you sent me that singer list the other day, and I was wanting to talk about that, add my 2 cents to it, you know?
Well, let's start with your questions
Yeah.
to Chucky.
Yeah, I meant later, you know.
Yeah. But, I mean, we've got Jared and Moonshine and Chucky, so you can address questions to any of us. I know you have some specifically for Chucky. I don't want to ask, like, 1,000 questions so we don't, like... I know Jared's got his other stuff to browse, like Twitter and porn, but, you know, you've got the rest of us here, so go ahead.
Shut your mouth.
All right, so Chucky, this is going to sound kind of creeperish, but hold with me for a second. Does anyone by the name of Scott Bird ring a bell to you?
No.
Damn it. All right, no, it was because I know you were in a band called Dragonflies a long time ago.
Yeah.
And there's a fellow by the name of Scott Bird who was the guitarist for a band that was also called Dragonflies that owns a music shop now. I don't know the guy personally. He lives
What city?
Hood River, Oregon.
Okay, that's why we were only in Buffalo.
Yeah, I don't know the guy personally, but my
And
friend
never
who
made
was-
it out of never made it out of Buffalo. And if we had known that there was a clothing shop in the '80s that all the rockers were dressing from called Dragonfly, we never. That name of the band was Stinger, and we did a show under the name Dragonfly just to tighten up the show before we performed live the first time, and we sold out the club. And then we ended up having to stick with that name. That was it.
Wow.
So it was never anything we wanted to do.
Okay. I don't know the guy personally, but my buddy who was on the very first week I was on the show, he's a big guitar fanatic, and he goes to the shop regularly, and yeah, he's actually owns like the only Dragonfly album that they made. But anyway, as soon as I heard you say that on the going to Los Angeles again, drinking and smoking, I was like, Jamie, you gotta check this out. I think this might be also one of the dudes for Dragonfly. I don't know.
No, it was nothing like that.
But he said it could. I mean, he was like, well, it could be possible because I remember correctly, the guy's name was like Michael X or something in the band, and I don't know. And your name's Charles A. Michael. I don't know. It was just a funny coincidence that I thought was worth asking about.
I don't judge.
A quick apology to Kasich. He was in the comments. He was our guest last week. He apparently was trying to get our attention in the comments, and he said, "Go to VidCon, Scott. Forget the weddings. I can't do that." And also, he said he had to go. So thanks for watching, as always. And there are some other questions here from viewers. So I'm sorry about not addressing the comments, but we're gonna let Dimitri go for a second, and then I'm gonna address some of these questions. Maybe we can break it up with that. So go ahead. Do you have anything else you want to ask?
Yes. God, how do I word this now? You're like almost like a professionally trained Broadway singer.
I'm not professionally trained. Anything
Were you
that happened.
self-taught?
Yeah, what it was we were playing in bands, and there's comes a point in your life where you figure out what you want to do and realize you have never done it before, and B, have no talent. And there was a quote by Bruce Lee where it says, we're told that talent creates its own opportunities, but sometimes intense desire creates not only its own opportunities, but its own talents as well. So if you really want to do something, you can do it. And then you just kind of slug it out in the clubs, and everybody, like I said, the reason I was a higher singer is because where Scotty and I are from, you can hear the Canadian stations, which means we listen to a lot of Rush and Triumph and bands like that, and if you couldn't sing those bands, you couldn't get a gig. So you end up trying to sing literally as high as you can. And that's where that came from.
And that's where my question is. I'm trying to equip myself as a vocalist myself, and I was wondering if you had any advice for someone who can't really seem to hit high notes very well, and has someone who should be learning proper breath control.
You know, the thing about it was, for me, it was always, breathing from your diaphragm. There's a ton of decent videos. There's a ton of videos on YouTube about how to sing, and most of them are just like whatever. From what I've been able to ascertain, you have a certain range. The only reason I have a higher voice is because I inadvertently mixed all of my falsetto into my full voice, so I have a semi-false voice. I can't go Little Richard, ooh, I have no falsetto. It's gone. It's all in my full voice. But I can sing Black Dog, so I was happy. And that was just, although there are certain songs that I can't sing. I can't do the scream that David Lee Roth can do, nor Steven Tyler. Aerosmith and Van Halen, and Van Halen's my favorite band, off the table.
Really?
I can't do like the iconic scream at the end of Dream On. I really can't do that. And if you can't do that, it doesn't really work. Same thing with a Van Halen song. That's why guys who can actually do that Van Halen, that David Lee Roth double-noted scream, and even though Steven Tyler is a rocker, he's a blues cat. That's actually a blues whale. That's a very bluesy thing. Rockers scream, blues cats wail. It's a very fine distinction, but I see Moonshine smiling, and she knows what I'm talking about. There is a distinction between
definitely, for sure.
Especially when you're talking about like back. I was
talking to my mother about this earlier. Because I was telling her about that list, and I was kind of upset because like Little Richard or whoever wasn't on that,
Well, Jeff
and
Tate,
I think
Jeff Tate wasn't on it.
A lot of people weren't on it.
Yeah, a lot of people weren't on it. And
like Rob Halford, for fuck's sake.
Halford wasn't on it. Tate wasn't on it. I don't even know if Dio was on it. Was Steven Tyler on it?
Now remember,
he was like number 4.
There are 3 tabs there. There's range, there's highs, and then there's lows. Who you're talking about may not have had a big range, but a significant like high. Yeah.
The weirdest thing about it is there was one review that I got. When I was doing Superstar, where somebody actually made the distinction between the rock scream and the blues wail, and they said Neely's doing blues, DiMaria's doing rock.
Ride the tiger.
And,
like, if you were to ask me my opinion on this, there's 3 people most involved for creating rock and roll as we know it now. There's Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Little Richard. I think the majority of rock and roll, as you hear it nowadays with vocalists, followed Little Richard.
Actually, I have a different view on that, but I see where you're going with that. The sexuality of it was Elvis Presley acting black. We stole everything from the black rhythm and blues. The way they sang, all that. Led Zeppelin are some of the most notorious plagiarists in the world. Would lift songs almost note for note. Dazed and Confused, when they snagged that one, they didn't even bother changing some of the lyrics. But what you have is Robert Plant. And Robert Plant's vocal style set the precedent for just generations of fucking vocalists after him.
No one in the 80s was hired unless they had sounded kind of like Robert Plant. I mean, Dee Snider was like the 7th or whatever vocalist for Twisted Sister, but they finally hired him, signed the band because they had Dee Snider, who kind of sounded like Robert Plant.
Well, the weird thing is, First of all, Dee
It's
Snider is
wine.
actually he's a very cool person. He came and played at a club that I was working at, and my boss said, Dee Snider's the only guy who would actually get off the tour bus, come in, shake my hand, and thank me for having me at the club. I was like, really? He goes, one of the few people who would actually do that. Great fucking vocalist. When Roth hit the scene, when David Lee Roth hit the scene, a lot of people didn't like him because he was a blatant Jim Dandy ripoff from Black Oak, Arkansas. Blatant.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like the Sammy Hagar years over the David Lee Roth.
Hagar is a better singer. Roth is a better frontman. And
It
Roth,
just seems to me like Roth was so into himself, I just can't get by it.
he's a frontman. That was the beginning of LSD.
That's his job, you know.
But that's his job. But when he was younger, Roth didn't miss a note. Just unreal vocal style, and was just never less than 4 feet off the ground. But there's a bunch of people who don't get a lot of credit, like Robin Zander from Cheap Trick.
Or the dude, I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but from the guy from Queensryche.
Jeff Tate.
Jeff Tate, thank you.
And Jeff Tate got kicked out of his
one of
own
the most
fucking band. And he was not even a trained vocalist. And when you heard The Lady Wore Black the first time, and you realize, holy shit, this is their fucking demo tape. When we were first listening to that, I was like, who is this guy, and how do I learn to sing like him? The reason, the way I learned how to use my my vibrato, was my guitar player, rest in peace, Mark Rosinski, gave me a copy of, Iron Maiden.
Where's Dickinson, motherfucker?
yeah, another one, and it was, she came to me with a serpent's kiss as the moon. Sunlight dances on the moonlight, catches silver tears, I cry. What the fuck name of that song? But it was one of those.
That's what I'm jealous of right there. You're not afraid to sing Uncle Pello, and I am.
Well, you got to get over that. But
yeah, no, I am.
But he was a ridiculously Iron Maiden, Bruce Dickinson, ridiculously good vocalist, and he would have to sing these amazing parts. And the drummer, Nico McBrain, notoriously plays faster live. So when you're listening to him do, Where Eagles Dare, and he's like, and he can't, and I'm like, dude, where do you breathe at this point? But he was just unreal.
Did he master inward singing?
He was not actually vocally trained. He never really took lessons, and
That's Tenacious D.
Well, the thing about it is this, Moonshine.
You're a fan of the D. I love you that much more, Moonshine.
All the best players out there play wrong. Everybody out there who's the best of what they do usually play wrong. They're self-taught. Billy Sheehan says that from Buffalo, the bass player. He plays the bass, technically, wrong. Geddy Lee plays literally with one finger. Sometimes he uses two. Eddie Van Halen did not take guitar lessons. He wanted no one to color his impression of the instrument.
Who's the guitarist that is missing a finger?
Pardon me?
There's one. There's one that's missing a finger. Who obviously doesn't know, right?
Tony Iommi is missing the tip of his finger. He has to wear rubber caps.
That was like a weird, ironic way, the birth of heavy metal right there. Because he put metal tips on his fingers and sanded them down, he had to slap the strings a lot harder. He had to totally reinvent the way he played.
It was
and so it had a harder sound. It went
It was not. I don't know who lost a finger, Moonshine, but Tony Iommi is actually missing fingertips. And they were actually, if you listen to very early Black Sabbath, they were a blues band as well. They were playing mostly blues jams.
That's why I hold true to the thing that Rob Halford was the first true heavy metal frontman.
Well, the weird thing about Rob Halford is when I was in high school.
Here's my opinion.
The thing about Rob Halford was when I was in high school, if you wanted to scare your parents, you made them think that you were you wore heavy metal stuff. You wore the spiked wristbands and things like that.
He created a uniform.
That was the toughest thing you could do. And we were imitating Rob Halford, not realizing that he was gay and cruising the leather clubs and was dressing like that one guy in the Village People. So we were actually dressing like leather queens. Never figured it out. There was, but he had this unreal scream. in his vocals, especially when you're talking about the Painkiller days, just this, and he could just sing for days. This guy had.
I
this
mean,
fucking
Rob
voice.
Halford was the epitome of cool for a long time.
Well, no, he wasn't the epitome of cool.
You want to know who it was I was thinking of?
Who?
Jerry
Yeah,
Garcia.
Jerry Garcia.
Jerry Garcia, when he plays guitar, he plays his action.
He's missing 2/3 of one of his fingers.
He's also dead, but he
Yeah, but he's obviously not playing any riffs dead.
Yes, he is. He never stops playing. He's the Grateful Dead now. But he when he would set up his guitar,
He's
he would have
playing
incredibly
17-minute songs in heaven.
incredibly high action with incredibly thick strings. So that meant if he's missing fingers, like Moonshine is saying, rather than him setting his guitar a different way to make it easier for him to play, he was working pretty hard. And
okay, wait. Here's what it says about Jerry Garcia. It says he is missing 2/3 of his right middle finger.
Right middle finger is not going to affect his playing because if he's playing with a pick, because he's only going to be gripping the pick with two fingers.
Well, it depends on what hand he's using for his fret hand. If I'm not mistaken.
He's a right-handed guitar player, so he's using his left hand.
Fair enough.
But the weird thing about it, Moonshine, were you a Dead fan?
I had my jam band phase.
The interesting thing about it, my cousin was a Deadhead, and he's playing live Dead for me, and he says, now listen. And he goes, that's Jerry, that's Dick. Jerry wants to play this song, Dick wants to play this song, and at the end of the song, they're both trying to figure out where the song is going to go, so Jerry's playing this, and Dick is playing this, and then Jerry's going this, and then Dick goes, okay, Leah, let's play that. And I said, that's how they used to pick the set list? And he goes, yeah, Jerry and the other is Dick, whatever his name was, would kind of jam back and forth to figure out what they were going to play. And I was like, really? He goes, never the same show. They would let you tape off the board. It was just a sea of microphones. As long as you didn't sell it, you could just give it away. That was cool. But as long as you didn't sell it, they didn't give a fuck. The Dead's road crew, Dead Local 101, followed them. They had their own union. And the Dead said we couldn't come off tour because there were so many people that we were supporting. There was an entire nation of people who followed them. If they did 5 shows that week, they were the 5 top grossing concerts. If they did 4 shows, they were the 4. They were, those 4 shows were in the top grossing concerts.
Whoa! Since we're talking about bands and stuff, Rolling Stone released a list of I think the 50 most highest grossing touring bands of all time.
Yeah,
and it was my friend. It was my friend who brought it up to me and was like, "So, where do you think your boys land?" And I was like, "Well," based on their ticket prices and their demographics, I was like, 10th? And they were like, "Whoa," because they were totally dead.
High five, Moonshine.
Fucking
knowing your band that well. That's
there is one band that has never lost money touring, and they've never lost any money, and it's Jethro Tull. And Ian Anderson describes himself as saying, "I'm not rich, I'm bloody rich," because apparently he took all his money and sunk it into the canneries, and then when there was a disease that went through all the fisheries, he bought the fisheries. Then there was a disease that kind of went through them, so he says, all right, I better buy the canneries too. So apparently he owns the whole nut. This guy's making so much money, it's unreal. There's a bunch of people out there Bruce Dickinson. I don't know how many planes that guy owns. He actually piloted a plane into enemy territory, took some of his countrymen, and flew them back home. And a buddy of mine was in a plane with Bruce Dickinson. His name is Michael Davenport. So Dav's in the plane. He's flying with Bruce. Bruce goes, "Dav, are there any planes coming that way?" And he goes, "No, why?" And he goes, "Oh, the radio's dead." "Oh, well, they'll figure it out and get out of our way." And he dives into the fucking landing.
So, Chucky, another question I had for you was, one thing I could do for hours is talk music, and I could tell you and Moonshine both were those people I could talk music to for hours. So, Chucky, do you have any opinion on newer rock bands that have been coming out?
I
For
don't.
example, like Disturbed to me is what Aerosmith is to Moonshine.
I
So-
think Chris Kattan from Saturday Night Live, if he shaved his head bald or he wore a bald
You
head,
have
he
to have
looked
the mango.
exactly like the lead singer from Disturbed. I think that one of the worst things that ever happened is the change in the music system where they stopped developing bands, where you gave the band a 5-album deal.
Yeah, you talk about that.
Exactly. Not a lot of bands get.
You have to be perfect the second you get signed, instead of the 5-year contract where you have time to develop your skills. You know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like not a lot of bands.
Nobody makes a second album worth of shit.
Or a third.
That
The
article I
Believe
was
was
talking
an
about.
amazing album. The Believe, in my opinion, was an amazing album.
That article I was actually talking about is called the Top 25 Live Artists Since 1990.
Wait, Chuckster, you say that there's no 5-album deals anymore?
What there used to be, and I believe, and I could be wrong on this, but this is the way it was explained to me, Jared. You got it was a takeoff from the studio system where you got a 7 or a 5 picture deal. Warner Brothers would sign you for a 5-album deal or a 7-album deal, and what would happen was the first album would try to break the band, second album they're trying to get their legs, third album is going to be the one. Then you got your fourth album, then your greatest hits.
I studied music business for 3 years. I also have a band. My cousin's band is signed to Warner Atlantic. So like the biggest label. The common thing right now is the 360 deal.
Say that again. A what deal?
A 360 deal.
Go ahead.
So they own tour, merch.
Oh my God, they're taking merch now?
Yes.
Really?
But you get a 3-album guarantee with a 2 option.
Okay, that's better than what they were doing before with the pump and dump.
Yeah, that's not so bad. Yeah.
I use this analogy, even though a lot of people don't like this band, it is an outstanding example of record company math. There was a band in the 80s called Wilson Phillips.
I fucking love Wilson.
Can you hold on?
Now, the thing about Wilson Phillips is they all had pedigree, they all had parents who were huge rock stars. Nobody wanted that band. They were turned down by every label 3 times. Somebody put in a Godfather call to Capitol, which is the Beach Boys label, probably Brian Wilson, and they finally signed that band. The band that nobody wanted went on to sell, with their first album, 10 million units, which is a diamond album. It's a huge album. Their second album sold 3 million, which is a triple platinum album and still a huge album. They immediately dropped the band because record company math said, you just lost 70% of your audience. Your third album will not even go platinum if you continue on this trend. We're cutting our losses. So 2 albums, 13 million units, and they got kicked. One of the last bands to get a development deal was Linkin Park.
Those guys went famous overnight.
Well, they developed that band for a long time before they released that album. And that was the thing about it.
Development does not exist anymore.
It does not exist anymore, and unfortunately, that was a great thing. It's not a lot of bands that can put out an album like Get Your Wings and have Dream On be, an instant classic. Not a lot of bands get that. Bruce Springsteen, when he released...
Dream On was not on Get Your Wings.
What was the first one?
Aerosmith.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, thank you. Their first album, that was, and out of the gate, you have this.
Steve wrote that song 3 years before the band was even a thing anyway. He wrote Dream On when he was 17 years old.
But the thing about it was,
Oh, and by the way, while I have the floor for a second, my friend lied to me. I was totally wrong. They're 18th on the list. I had actually not seen the article. This was all secondhand knowledge. The Rolling Stones are the number 1, by the way.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
They not a lot
of... The Eagles were number 10, which kind of surprises me.
They got a lot of internal problems, but there was.
Yeah, but since 1990, Aerosmith was like hot shit.
Hot shit, yeah.
Dude, are you kidding me? They were at Woodstock '94.
But you also have to remember, what was that list measuring?
Live artists, and Aerosmith is very, very good about
Here, go ahead.
So the 2 things about Aerosmith is they're not active.
It's like
tours.
They're not what?
They're not what?
Active. It's like very on and off.
What? No way. They're like constantly touring. I mean, not lately, not in the last like few years.
Not like the last 10 years. I've been into them for 10 years. And
Here's the thing about touring that a lot of people don't understand. It costs a lot of fucking money, and you can end up going broke touring simply because you're borrowing that money from the record company.
That's the exact opposite of where Aerosmith is right now. They've gone on record recently saying they'll probably never release a studio album again because why not just tour and make all that money? Like,
you know where they're making most of their money
It's
from?
like what I was telling you, Moonshine, when I first came on the show. It was
But
like.
do you know where they're making most of their money, Dimitri? Guitar Hero.
Still?
That
No
does
way.
not
That's what I heard. I heard they made
That
a
does
ton
not
of money
surprise
off
me.
I mean, they made.
They made a ton of money.
I mean, like, has
That's past
anyone
tense,
ever
though. That
heard
video
of
game is like 10
fucking,
years old.
Yeah, but they made a grip
They
off
made
of that.
What's that band's name? Oh, fuck. There's, God, Dragon something.
Dragon Slayer.
Hold on. I got it on my
It's
playlist.
not. Dragon.
The thing with development deals is, and a lot of big artists now said we could never get record deals in this environment. Like Bruce Springsteen said that first album barely.
Dragon Force.
That barely
They're like a
top
force on Guitar Hero, and that's where they make the majority of their money now.
Yeah. And his second album, Wild Innocent East Street Shuffle, didn't really do much. It gave us Rosalita. Asbury Park gave us fucking Blinded by the Light. But it wasn't until the third album, and one record company executive said that we used to talk about the third album. Wait till this band's third album. You really don't. Bon Jovi. I mean, what? Buffalo's
You're
a Bon
totally
Jovi
right about
show.
that. Aerosmith's third album, like.
Now,
Anyone name it? Anyone?
What was I want to say Toys in the Attic, but
There you go.
was it Toys?
Scotty wants to say something.
Wait, was it rocks or toys?
I don't know if it was Rocks or Toys. I think it was Toys.
I think it's
It's
12.
rocks.
apparently, I don't get to talk because I must not know anything about rock. The only thing I wanted to add was a generic statement about music in general. And when you're talking about development, I think we can blame the internet for that, really, because you've got new people that are competing online immediately with or without labels, and some of them are fantastic. They just needed a different platform. And go ahead.
I do agree, but also Christina Grimmie
Yes.
is like the best. She's so fucking good. And the fact that she did it for so long, and she didn't even win.
But here's the problem with Christina Grimmie. She has this amazing voice, and then when you see her do her original stuff, she went really Pop-Tarty. And I was like, okay. She started, it was a weird marketing, and I was like, because she has this killer throat. I mean, that girl can sing.
To the point where it's almost piercing. Like, I don't like her.
She's got a great voice.
She's fantastic.
But here's the thing about it, and this is something that YouTubers lack. If you get signed and you have a priority deal, I mean a fucking, back in the day, Jared, a priority deal, you had the right songwriters, you had the right image people, you had the right publicists, you had people you could work with, the best songwriters, all of that shit. You had a producer. I loved Guns N' Roses' first album. Why? Because Mike Klink was the producer on it, and they never sounded that good again. They never sounded as good as they did on Appetite, and that's all Mike
You don't want to get me started on Axl Rose.
Dude, Peter Collins, who produced Operation Mindcrime. That was it for me, you know?
It's not even Guns N' Roses anymore. They got to name it something else now.
But the thing about it was, like, you had those people. Now, take good YouTubers and put them with the right writers, the right producers, the right cinematographers, and taking away, and just let them do their thing. It's a different thing. Now, if you had a studio, like a Maker or a Full Screen, and they were actually not just signing thousands of people, but they signed somebody and they developed them, then I would say that would be a different type of business model. We don't have that anymore. And unfortunately, because of the internet, record companies are losing money left and right. Moonshine, or one of you guys, were the ones who told me, Chuck, software developers software developers expect you to download their software. The only people who buy it are businesses and schools. But record companies never ever thought that people would steal music. It's like, what did you think?
Because of the 360 deals, they've come to terms with the fact that piracy is not going to stop. It will never stop.
Ever.
But services like Spotify are kind of the solution where everyone makes some money, but you experience so much more music because you don't have to buy it. It's free. And you have to listen to an ad every like 7 songs, and it sucks.
So the radio is the answer to piracy?
Pretty much.
But with Spotify, it's way less ads, and then you also have the related artist feature, which people are now going
that's
to.
Amazing. And they've got playlists and record. If I can add to the previous thing, Chucky, you just nailed the whole reason why they don't have, these labels don't develop people anymore. Because just like multi-channel networks on YouTube, they try to recruit thousands of artists, or YouTubers in this case, and they're hoping they hit a home run with a Matthew Santoro once in a while. Because he's already groomed, he's already where he's at. Why do you think The Voice and Idol are what they are? They want the rawness, they want what's already there, I mean. Like, the guy, I think it was Noah or Josh, the guy who won The Voice, that dude is polished. He's 38 years old. He's been doing it for 20 years. He's fantastic. You don't even need to develop him. They want people
here's the problem.
now.
Here's the problem, Scotty. Here's the problem. Jared, back me up. You can eyeball the failure rate of the music industry at around 95%.
I'm here.
Is that a fair assessment?
What was it?
95% failure rate.
In all of music or just sign up?
If you take all the albums that were released in the year 2013, we'll go back 1 year, 95% of them would be listed as failures. You're talking about an industry.
Literally, almost all of them, 99.
I would say 3 to 5%, Chucky, are the ones that have an album that they try to sell at a coffee shop.
Yeah,
they never made it big, but they're making dough, and you're right, 1 or 2%.
You're talking about an industry that traditionally has a 95% failure rate, and they have an outdated business model. I don't think that developing bands is outdated, but I was talking to a guy from Interscope, and I said, you guys got to get into artist management, and he said, we are, because that's the only way they're going to make money, is off the tours, off of the merch, things of that nature. Bon Jovi did... Early 90s, John Bon Jovi could not get arrested in the United States of America. Sold out Wembley 5 nights in a row. Jared, $1 million in T-shirts every night. $1 million in T-shirts every night. That was one stop on his tour.
360 deal.
Foo Fighters sold out Wembley.
Say that again, Jared?
They have a 360 deal, so it's all shared with the label.
Yeah, and that's the only way that the labels are going to actually be able to. And plus, you buy a Macintosh. I don't know what comes preloaded with a Windows machine. You buy a Macintosh, you've got a digital studio. Not a great one, but you spend a little bit of money, you can pick up Cubase or Pro Tools, a little bit difficult out of the box, but Cubase, you've got a digital recording studio. You can mix, you can master, you can market your product directly to the masses. You can cut out the middleman, and because you're taking 100% of the profits rather than 12 cents of an album that you have to pay all your bills off of, rock bands always make their money on tours. And you know what? They don't give a shit if you took the album for free, as long as you buy a T-shirt on the way out.
One of the biggest things recently for me was Fall Out Boy, my favorite band, and for so many reasons. And you can diss them 100,000 times, but
I don't judge, dude. Don't worry about it.
They're so good. I've got a Fall Out Boy tattoo, and I don't even care because it's so fucking awesome. I saw them recently on their comeback tour, and it was the worst thing I've ever seen. Their new album is fantastic, but their comeback tour was so like, I need to make money. I'm poor.
You know what it is, Jared?
And that's a turnoff. That sucks.
I'll tell you this much about it, and you can tell the people on a stage who have slugged it out in the bars. You can tell, and it was something Dave Grohl said. He goes, you don't become a rock star by going on American Idol. You suck first. You buy a shitty drum set and you suck. Then you get your friends and they buy some secondhand instruments and you play in your guitar, you play in your garage and you suck. And eventually you stop sucking and then you become Nirvana. That's what happened to us. Most bands, when they first get together, they fucking suck. You're trying to figure it out. You're tripping over mic cords. You don't know what you want to sound like. You don't know what your fucking direction is. You know, you have no real life experience. How the fact that Steven Tyler, if what Moonshine says is true, that he wrote Dream On when he was 17 years old, that's an old soul right there. Because that's an iconic song to come out of a 17-year-old, and he continues to write that way, and can still hit the notes. God bless him. But you know, that was
the top thing. Not many singers nowadays who were great back then can hit the notes.
A lot of them still can. Go watch the fucking... He was a much higher singer when he was younger, but go watch the Rush documentary. Your fucking jaw will hit the ground. But
yeah,
when
that's true.
When he first hosted American Idol, I told everyone, here's what's going to happen. He's going to sit there and listen to them sing their fucking songs, and he'll, you know, be Steven Tyler and everything, and then at the end of the season, he's going to go up there and sing Dream On and show them what a rock star really looks like. And
exactly.
You know, he's going to go out there and say, this is... And I'll tell you something.
Did he do it on a piano that raised out of the floor?
Oh, did you see when they did their... the one they did where he did a... it was kind of an unplugged thing, and they did Seasons of Wither.
Was it unplugged?
It was a long time ago. It was an unplugged thing they did.
It was MTV Unplugged.
And yeah, it was an unplugged thing. I'm pretty sure it was that. And
it wasn't an unplugged thing. The show was called Unplugged.
I know, but I think they did. I think they were. I think that's. It was an unplugged. It wasn't just air. It wasn't a separate entity from Unplugged. I think it was an unplugged thing. And a buddy of mine was actually in the audience, Moonshine, and he said you could barely get Steven Tyler up on stage because every time he walked through the audience, he would see somebody he knew and walk over and just, hey man, how you doing? He goes, Jack. They basically had to drag him up there. He said they played forever, and
it's one of the best renditions of "Love Me Two Times" I've ever heard.
Really?
Yeah.
And like I said, they did Seasons of Wither. They did a bunch of shit. And
I used to have a bootleg CD of that entire show.
Do
Yeah,
you?
that entire show. I used to. I bought it for like $12 off of eBay.
There was and the thing is what a lot of people don't understand is that it's real easy to be a rock star in front of 50,000 people because you can say anything. I was at a Green Day show. I was doing security at a Green Day show, Scotty, at Blind Melons, okay? And I was the only one skinny enough who could get up on the stacks to watch the crowd. And the drummer comes out and he goes, rock and roll! And everybody screams. And he goes, you know, if you say rock and roll at the end of a sentence, people will scream. And he goes back and starts, but it was, you know, but when you're talking about a small club date, that's when you're working, dude. That's when you're working hard. Dimitri, we closed a show for a band called King's X. That band was amazing. Oh, and then we did another show. I watched a show with a band called Atomic Opera. These guys were unfucking real. They were amazing bands. They never really clicked. You know, King's X was unfucking real. They were so good. So fucking good, dude.
Or a band like Anvil. I mean,
well, you know, the Anvil. I cried at least 3 times during that documentary because every guy, and I'm sitting there. You should have seen me, dude. When he walks out,
every time Webb's crying, I was like, I know.
Oh my God! And they walk out, and they're playing this fucking concert. They're playing this festival. They're up at 11 a.m.
Tokyo, man, it's just insane.
Nobody's gonna be there, and they walk out. And I get teared up every time, and he walks out on stage, and it's packed, and I just stood up, and I was screaming, yes! And then he runs out into the audience, and he waves to his friend playing drums, and I just had to stop the tape and cry. But another band like that. Dude, there's a guy who lives near us in Buffalo. He lives in Niagara Falls. His name is Joey DeMeo. Joey is the bass player for Manowar. Manowar is... They're huge outside of the United States.
It's one of those bands. Either you love them to death or you want to watch them.
They're like a Spinal Tappy kind of band. You know, they do Viking metal and everything, but they're fucking gods once they get to Norway. It's unreal. There's an entire market that nobody gives a shit about in Europe, in Japan, you know, or in South America.
And that's one thing Disturbed was like really smart. They took advantage of that European fan base that they had that weren't able to get all their albums.
Well,
They
dude,
did
so
a
did,
shit ton.
so
They
did
did a
Twisted
shit
Sister.
ton of European tours, man. And that's where they got the majority of their fortune that they have now.
Twisted Sister got a bunch of money together, begged, borrowed, and stole, and literally moved to Europe, and that's how they got their American record deal. You know, I mean, it's
And
just
besides Anvil, Twisted Sister has one of like the worst luck or origin stories I've ever heard. You know, I mean, they lost their fortunes like 3 times, it seems at least.
I like the quote from Dee Snider, and Dee Snider said, "Look, when I wrote We're Not Gonna Take It, it was about every asshole in my life." And he goes, and everything I was just angry about. He says, "Look, man, I got a beautiful wife. I got 2 beautiful kids. I got a beautiful house. I'm pretty fucking happy. You know, I can't work up the righteous indignation necessary to sing that song. This is the first time in my life I've actually been happy, man. I got everything I need." You know, it's you know, that band went through a lot of shit. One of the bands that caught so much shit, and I feel sorry for him because he's dead now, but was Janie Lane from Warrant. So many people blamed him because of the Cherry Pie video and everything.
Oh, I know.
And the misogyny in rock and roll, in big 80s hair rock, is akin to the misogyny that you now see in rap and hip-hop.
I can agree with that.
It used to be much more fuck the police, and it was more socially conscious, and now it's about big booty bitches. And that was essentially what was going on with bands in the late 80s, cresting into the 90s. They didn't give a fuck what you sounded like. They just wanted to see what you look like.
Well, see, then the 90s was just boy bands.
Well, the early 90s, you had the grunge movement, and then you went back into boy bands and pop, and then
you
bands
had
like
new
Fall
metal.
Out Boy could actually come back again because
And then
Fall
you
Out
had
Boy,
new metal, which was like Korn and Limp Bizkit.
yeah, the new metal, the rap metal, that kind of thing kind of came and went. But a band like Fall Out Boy, when I first heard Fall Out Boy, the thing that I did like about it was, like, first of all, the lead singer's a good singer, and he writes decent pop songs. He's a good vocalist. But there were you started seeing rock and roll come back a little bit, but when you were talking about the change in music in the late 80s, with things being so just focused on, it was all style, form, no substance.
I mean, you were there. You know what it was like.
I saw the whole fucking thing, and the weirdest thing about it was that Janie Lane's album, Warrant's album, Cherry Pie, according to Janie Lane, was originally called Uncle Tom's Cabin, and it was a play on...
It was never meant to be called Cherry Pie. They ripped that song at like the last 5 minutes. They said, "Hey, we got
they need another song," so he goes...
minutes on the album, go write a song.
He literally wrote Cherry Pie in 10 minutes and handed it to him and said, "There's your fucking song." Next thing you know, the album's called Cherry Pie.
There's Cherry Pie eating contest, there's Cherry Pie this, Cherry Pie that.
He actually said in an interview, "I could shoot myself in the fucking head for that song." And he knew that there was a problem when he walked into his record label and Cherry Pie was the big, blown-up album behind the front desk. Came in the next time he came in, and I believe it was not Soundgarden, not Nirvana, but it was Alice in Chains. And he looked at that and he went, "Okay, here we go." You know, and the music industry changed. And everyone talks about the grunge movement. There were a handful of bands, and I'll say it, SDP was a ripoff of Alice in Chains.
A lot of people thought it was a ripoff of Pearl Jam.
You know what? Pearl Jam, funny thing, I get a phone call from my fucking agent, or my manager.
I heard this story, but it's awesome, so go ahead and tell it.
There's a band that's going to change things. They're called Mother Love Bone. Be on the lookout. And I went, okay. Calls me up a little bit later, and he says, lead singer from Mother Love Bone just killed himself, heroin overdose, but they got a new singer. Be on the lookout for a band called Pearl Jam. That was in like '88. And Robbie, I was talking to Robbie from Goo Goo Dolls, and he goes, "I heard the Nirvana demo tapes. They don't sound nothing like Nevermind. That's all studio magic." They got in with a good producer who could take what they were trying to do and hone it. I can't remember the producer on Nevermind. And a lot of people don't understand that. Your producer is oftentimes an unnamed member of the band. Like when Scotty talks about, "I'd like to be more behind the scenes," He's actually, if he was producing a rock album, he would be the fifth member of the band if they were a four-man band. It's the same thing. You're that deep into the band.
I
It's the
like
same
the
thing.
way you. I like that.
I
And
think you would be kick-ass at that, Scott. Just saying.
Well,
Thank
that's
you.
the thing about it was like and what people don't understand, Scotty, is that's a difficult fucking thing because you're the outsider trying to be a member. You're the guy who's saying, "No, guys, trust me. This is what you are. You have to trust me here. Shut up and let me drive. I'll get you there." You know what I mean?
well,
It's a difficult role.
I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to Michael Jackson's new album, Escape. Now, it's an 8-song album of previously unreleased songs that weren't mastered or finished, and L.A. Reid brought on Timbaland to produce it. And anywhere they needed to finish vocals, they brought in other musicians. For example, Justin Timberlake. Or they modernized these songs. They would change the tempo slightly. They would change the chorus, whatever. Anything they could do. And Love Never Felt So Good. There's some of these songs are just it's good. It's really good, and you can tell Michael Jackson had his hands involved. They just didn't make the cut. And sometimes the best work is stuff that you never see.
Mhm.
And I truly believe that as an editor who films what he edits, it's very tough for me to cut out some of my best shots when I know there's a better shot or an alternate shot that will make more sense for the moment. So it's like, oh, that's why I think sometimes it's better to have somebody else edit what I shoot, because I'll spend hours going, no, and you try to work around it. So I think producers do that all the time.
I think
What I'm good at doing, and I think you just gave me credit for, is when somebody else has a vision and you can run with it. I feel that way when it comes to people that write scripts. When I was producing or directing something, I could look at a screenplay and I could write it. I could write the storyboard for it, or not even need a storyboard. When I read it, I envision something and I want to bring that to life. And I think producers, the right producer with a band, can make them even better, or as best as they could be.
The thing about it with, and this is something that Moonshine's probably already seen, there was it was a video, but now it was called The Making of Pump, where they showed the band from the beginning, and it was funny because Steven Tyler's behind a keyboard, and he's like, Joe, what was that riff? And you hear water running, and you find out, and you realize, no, Joe Perry's taking a piss. Walks out, zips up his pants, and he goes, which one? He goes, that one, the thing. And Joe Perry picks up his guitar and goes, and Steven Tyler.
I feel like that part was the other side, and it was da 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 da.
No, but he turns around and he goes, loving an elevator.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's been forever. The Making a Pump is just such a great documentary.
But it was interesting because
I'll be right back. I gotta go get another beer. I'll be right back. Don't kick me off,
Scott. Around and then Steven Tyler sits down behind the drum kit because he's actually a drummer, and he's playing and he's playing the whole thing. Well, Bruce Fairbairn, who I think is dead, I don't know, was the producer on that, Scotty. Fairbairn had two lists in that fucking studio: the A list and the B list. Only songs on the A list could make it on the album. And Perry goes, it pisses me off to no end that this song is on the fucking B list. Steven hasn't even wrote the vocals yet, and you're telling me it's not any good. And he goes, well, tell Steven to write the fucking vocals. Next scene is Steven Tyler with a little close-and-play recorder, tape player, going, what did her daddy do? Janie's last eye. He's writing the lyrics to fucking Janie's Got a Gun because Steven Tyler hadn't written the lyrics, and Joe Perry was pissed off because it's like, how is this song a B song? It hasn't even been written yet. So there's a lot of aggravation.
And there was also the final version of the song, which then got changed to be more PC because there was a part that got changed to, was it Daddy's Cradle Robin, that had something to do with basically rape, like straight on rape rhetoric, and
what it might have been.
Junior pulls Steven aside and is like, look, this can be a really important, really played, really like this song can make a difference. You don't want it to not get airplay because you say the word rape.
The other thing was that may have been, and you might know better than I, that might have been John Kalodner.
It almost was certainly either John Kalodner or Bruce
Fairbanks.
Bruce Valanche.
Bruce Valanche from the Oscars? Bruce
Okay,
Valanche.
maybe I'm wrong. Never mind. You're right. I'm drunk. I've been drinking.
But the thing about it was Kalodner, John Kalodner was the A&R.
John Kalodner was the guy in the video for Dude Looks Like a Lady. With the beard.
He's the guy in the wedding dress and everything. John
Kalodner, They that whole song, the original song was Do It Like a Lady, but they changed it to Dude Looks Like a Lady, and the whole video was an excuse to get John Kalodner in a wedding dress.
But John Kalodner is
Steven Tyler.
He was a legendary A&R rep, but he had a very
No, Jared, just talk. I know you know lots about Aerosmith.
I thought it was like entirely about Tommy Lee.
I don't know. Google it.
Dude Looks Like a Lady?
Yeah, it might have been, but
no, the original thing was Do It Like a Lady, and then they changed it to Dude.
There was
I heard before that song was written. I heard that song was actually written about Axl Rose.
I don't think Axl was around then. Somebody Google it, but they were talking. John Kalodner, very weird voice. John Kalodner talks just like this.
It was about you
have to change that one word. You have to change that word, or else it won't be a hit. He's one of those cats, and he was their A&R rep, a legendary dude. But they there's a lot of vocals, like a lot of songs like that had to be changed. Gene Simmons said that the original title for Beth was Beck because Peter Criss's girlfriend's name at the time was Rebecca. So he used to call her Beck. And he goes, look, dude, if you say Beck, people are going to think you're talking about Jeff Beck and they're going to think you're gay. Change it to Beth. I mean, a lot of times you have somebody who does that. I don't know if that story's true, but that was what Gene Simmons says. Gene Simmons actually was the original producer and tried to get a record deal for Van Halen, but he didn't like David Lee Roth. And David Lee Roth tells how there would be, like, Gene Simmons was taking him out to see a show, and there'd only be tickets for Eddie, Alex, and Michael Anthony, and there wouldn't be a ticket for David Lee Roth. You know, so a lot of times you just got to stick to your guns. You know, Rocky, Sylvester Stallone, they didn't want him to play the character, Scotty, but he stuck to his guns. He wanted to play.
He went in there to do a role, and they were like, "Okay, well, we'll consider you whatever." And he
the only
walked.
thing he
Like,
had before
well,
that.
you know, I also do some writing too, and they're like, "Okay, bring it in. What the hell?" And they loved it, and he wouldn't let him have it until he said, "I'll let you have it, but you gotta let me do the lead."
But yeah, but they at that time he only really had Lords of Flatbush and a porno.
That's true.
Yeah, I think that was only Lords of Flatbush, which was actually where Arthur Fonzarelli, Henry Winkler.
Wait. Was Lords of Flatbush the name of the porno?
No, that was. I think it was.
Oh no! That was totally a joke. I know it wasn't.
That was good.
Hello.
Bye, Moonshine.
But that was actually the funny thing about that was also where Henry Winkler got the inspiration for Arthur Fonzarelli from Flatbush. But
Isn't it great how Henry Winkler has, like, he hasn't fallen off, but he just doesn't do the acting roles that he has in the past, obviously, and he will, but he will be in, like, pop culture lexicon forever. His face will exist.
He's also an incredibly he produces a lot of shit. I mean, he's behind the scenes doing a lot of stuff. The same thing with Opie Cunningham.
Fucking Ron Howard.
Ron Howard. And this is somebody who completely negates that you could be a child star and not have his career.
What did you just say?
He negates that whole you can't be a child star and have a career because he started with what was it, Gentle Ben, Mayberry, Andy Griffith's show, all the way through all the stuff that he did.
Andy Griffith is the greatest. You know who I also love? Dick Van Dyke. Oh my God.
Brilliant. Any of that shit that was done live, Moonshine, I'm thrilled.
Dick Van Dyke
I
was one of
wanna
my favorites.
apologize.
I love Lucy. Man.
I want to apologize ahead of time for sending us on this tangent about music. I know you're wanting to get to the comments, Scotty.
Well, I have comments sitting here waiting, but
Go ahead, Scotty.
and I have a lot. I mean, I'm not completely clueless on this topic. I'm just
I've been
sitting here
rocking
listening.
out. Scott muted me because I was playing a little too loud,
Yeah,
I guess.
because you're
and I've
annoying.
been
It's like ding,
rocking
ding, ding. I'm
out.
trying to hear Chucky.
No one else was complaining, sir.
Because that's what they were talking to each other.
Nah, it's okay.
No, you weren't talking. You were just policing.
No, it's okay, guys. Please, I don't spend that much time with you. Don't bicker on your own time. But the thing about it is, like,
I'm just saying. I was like, okay, I can't focus on it. All I heard is bing, bing, bing.
Well, the weird thing about it with me was, and getting back to what you were talking about and what we were talking about earlier, Scotty, and even Jared and Moonshine. It's like, you got to figure out what you really like, and it's like, we start talking about music, and it's like, yes, and then this, and then this, and then this band, and then this thing happened, and blah blah blah. That's how you figure out what you really like in life.
Well, you know what, Chucky? And in the comments, somebody was like, I'm not into rock at all, but this is really interesting. Another person said, I could hear Chucky talk about anything for hours. And I think it's great that you guys are, pretty much all four of you guys in here, are really into
a lot of
music and are going back and forth. And I've always been into music. Now, I will say this. Throughout the 80s and 90s, in the 80s, it was a lot of Elvis and a lot of 50s, 60s music I listened to. And then in the 90s, it was 80s music, but it was like after the fact. And when I was in high school, Korn, it wasn't cool to know Korn or Nine Inch Nails and Pearl Jam, and you were a loser if you did. That was just the culture that was just the country bumpkins, I mean, I had 3 cows every human in my home, in my area, so I would never really got to study
I
that.
get exactly what you're saying, Scott.
So when
But I disagree with something, Scotty.
Go ahead.
A lot of people say that Nirvana closed the door on 80s rock. I disagree. I think it was pretty Hate Machine, because the
Nine Inch Nails album, right?
Well, Trent Reznor was Nine Inch Nails, and it was just
I've never been a big Nine Inch Nails fan. So.
When you listen to Pretty Hate Machine, you all of a sudden you went, wait a second. And another album that really closed the door, as far as I'm concerned, on 80s rock was Disintegration by The Cure. I don't give a fuck. There wasn't a single hook on that album. There were no choruses, and that was.
My friend Jamie would probably agree with you on that.
That was a brilliant album. But you know what I liked even better than fucking Disintegration? I think Wish was their best album. I thought that was a brilliant fucking piece of work. And everyone's like, oh no, you have to listen to Kiss Me and Head in the Door. And I'm like, fuck you, listen to Wish. But Disintegration and Wish, especially that bass line in Fascination Street, was unfucking real.
So, if I can add, I really admire music, like authentic music in general, and I would say the 80s are what I was deprived of when I was a kid. But then when I really got to I really started to admire it in the 90s, in the late 90s, I would say, and then early 2000s. When like that's why when I heard Chris Daughtry, people were like, "Dude, get off his dick." Why do you like Chris Daughtry? Because he's like a modern guy with like a soulful, like rocker kind of raspy, like
good voice,
and it's great. And when I hear people that can belt like him or like Adam Lambert, right? Okay, he's gay, he's theatrical, whatever. That dude's got a voice. So when I hear people like this, I'm like, damn. So I go back and I listen to these '80s bands like Chucky. I would have loved to hear your shit live, and I think
Me too.
I think that sadly,
here's what
a lot of stuff like that. Now, keep in mind, I was a security guard for concerts, and for 3 years, and I got to see fantastic bands. And like, I'm not gonna. In 2001, I never even heard of who Flogging Molly was before that, and they did.
Oh my God, they're fucking huge, dude.
I know, and they did Thursday at the Square at the time, which is now Thursday at the Harbor, and I'm like, this is fantastic. And then all these names that I didn't know of that were coming up, and I'm like, the Eagles. I love the Eagles. I did their concert front row, and I still have their drumstick and their
Do you know how they got? Do you know how they got?
I didn't even know what they looked like. I just knew I was singing to every one of their songs, but I didn't even know what they looked like. That's how.
This is okay. What you're talking about right there with the Eagles, this is what's missing in the record industry, and I'm sorry that Jared Jared, are you there? I say Jared might remember this story. Jackson Browne. Somebody didn't like the demo tape from Jackson Browne. Threw the package in the trash. David Geffen's assistant thought he was cute. pulled it out of the garbage, and handed it to David Geffen. Geffen listened to it and liked it, went to see him at his rehearsal studio, and signed him. And Jackson Browne said, if you think I'm good, wait till you hear the guys upstairs. So David Geffen, being David fucking Geffen, walked upstairs and listened to them, and he loved the band. But they were called Penny Arcade or some shit like that, Penny Opera, Penny Opera Express, something stupid. He goes, I cleaned them up and I changed their name to the Eagles. That's how they got signed, is because Jackson Browne was rejected by one person. Used to be in record companies, you saw a bunch of guys walking around in suits and a bunch of rocker chicks walking around. They were the assistants. They were the ones who found bands. They would go out and say, listen to this, listen to this. And you're missing that now.
It was like the gal that discovered Motley Crue. I mean, when she saw them the first time, she was like, oh my God, they sounded dreadful, but they looked amazing.
That was the thing about
the 80s born.
They did a street party where Poison was playing. Somebody said they were throwing full beer bottles at them. A friend of mine said, a buddy of mine from Los Angeles used to play back in the day. He goes, yeah, I did a show with a band called Mammoth. I said, get the fuck out of here. You played with Mammoth? And he goes, yeah. Mammoth was Van Halen's original name. I said, you saw Eddie Van Halen in the club days? He goes, he was fucking unreal. Eddie Van Halen used to turn his back to the audience, Scotty, so that none of the other guitar players could see what he was doing when he would stand.
You know,
Nice.
I'll tell you what, when I lived in Orlando, I think that really changed my mindset with music, and because I saw such a variety, it's a melting pot there. You know, it's not the boy bands like it used to be, and there are several big studios that produce big things now. Plush Studios, which is in Orlando, run by Eitan, which is now the head of Warner. He's a friend of mine. He produced Nicki Minaj's platinum singles and stuff. Like, not just her, but like pretty much half of what, you know, the big hits now. He's very much in the pop. He knows what sells. He's a big producer. So I knew that there was a lot of music locally too. So I went and listened to a lot of live bands. And like you said, you know, I experience now what I think is Van Halen then. You know, where you see them before they're big, and I see some of these guys, and it's not just because they're friends of mine or they become friends of mine. I see the raw talent, and I know, like on YouTube, when I see Christina Grimmie, I remember when she had like 50,000 subscribers, and she's playing on her little piano, and I'm like, this girl's gonna be big. And of course, she's on TV in front of millions of people. You can find that, and I think every city has that. It's just, are they willing to do what it takes to get to that level where you're gonna have somebody find your CD in the trash, or you don't have to do that, you know?
You know who I still think is just a brilliant. I love her voice. God, her voice just goes right through me, and
Who's
just.
that?
Sarah Bareilles.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, she could sing.
Brave.
You know who's a great band that's in my local town that hasn't really been heard of yet? There's a band in my local town called Bad Wolf Bay, who's actually like, there's like 3 lead singers to it, but it sounds amazing. It's like nothing compared to my normal taste. I'm a pure rock metal guy. And I'm not saying that as like, oh, other types of music sucks. It's just that's the only thing that really gets my blood flowing, you know?
Now,
these people are just so insane. I mean, I'll recognize talent when I see it. Before Justin Bieber became kind of a douche, I was one of those people. Yeah, I'm not a fan, but I'll respect the kid because he did have talent.
Well,
he did have talent.
The thing about it is,
he still does. He just doesn't write his own shit, and that was what somebody in the comments was saying. Was a lot of those rock bands in the '80s wrote their own stuff. Now you've got 26 writers on an album.
It's not so much that they wrote their own stuff. There was this one guitar player, and I can't remember his name, but if he was mentioned as an additional musician on the album, it meant that he played the whole album. And he basically defined '80s rock because he was such a monster guitar player. He played on everybody's stuff.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
A lot of those cats were studio cats because when you're talking about dropping, you know, hundreds of dollars an hour for, Pyromania from Def Leppard, they had Mutt Lange. Mutt Lange was famous for being AC/DC's producer, and he's another 5th member of the band. Mutt Lange is insane when it comes to production because he'll say, like, what's the first note in this song? The guy says, it's an A. Okay, what strings do you play? Rip off every other string, intone the guitar to the A, and then play every A in the song. Now what's the next chord in the song? And he would do that. Then he would slow the tape down to half speed, have you play along with it, so when it was played back in full speed, you had it an octave higher as a razor blade high sound that he would mix in to thicken the guitars. There's another trick for vocals that the Dolls taught me, that one of their fucking, I think it was the guy on fucking, it might have been Hold Me Up or Superstar Car Wash, he would make Johnny do a whisper track underneath the vocals. So if he was saying, you know, a line, he would sing it in an octave down, and then he would mix that in, because that's the only way to get bass into the sound, because you don't have any bass when you're singing. All those studio tricks, that's what the producer was ending up doing. And Mutt Lange spent so much time doing Pyromania. Was it Pyromania? Hysteria? What's the one with Pour Some Sugar on Me? Come on, Chucky, you should know this. I think it's Hysteria. It's Hysteria.
Hold on. I can check this out.
Yeah, it was Hysteria. That if that album, Scotty, didn't go like triple platinum, it would have...
My fucking textbook, right here.
They would have lost their ass on that one. Same thing with Chinese Democracy. Axl Rose spent 10 years on that album. If it didn't, and at one point they realized, we're never going to make our money back on this. He's already spent so much money.
So the thing is, back to your point about like writing albums, is no one actually writes their own album anymore.
They write songs.
It doesn't.
Because you buy singles, you don't buy albums. Nobody buys albums anymore. You buy songs that you like online, you know?
Yeah, but like no one.
And that's sad to me. Really, to me, that's sad.
Well, there's a problem with that.
That's just my opinion.
Well, there's a problem with that. When you're talking about an album, you're talking about a moment in the band's career. It doesn't matter when those songs were written. This is a moment in their career. It's a cohesive thought. The albums, even the album's order, has to be a specific way, because when you're talking about an album, it spins faster towards the center and slower towards the outside. So sonically, certain songs don't sound correct unless you place them in a certain order, which is the reason why And Justice for All by Metallica had to be a 2-album set, because if you crammed it all into one album, sonically it wouldn't work. So not only is that album a snapshot of that band at that moment in time, that's the order that those songs have to be. You have to hear the album in that order. Since we live in a digital age, it's all single-driven, and it doesn't matter what album, what order the songs are written. You may not have any
albums or albums with themes.
You gotta rock up,
What was the song you were curious about, Chucky? The Def Leppard song?
Which album was Pour Some Sugar on Me? Was that Hysteria?
Let me see. Porcelain Hysteria?
Okay, while he's looking that up, Chucky, you know Amnion, Rob's friend.
Pour some sugar.
That guy is talented. Holy hell.
You know how they're themed and it tells a story from song to song to song to album? I mean, that sort of shit is just mind-blowing. And that is
It is
something that is genius, and that is something that you don't see enough of. So when you have a lead singer who's also the writer, or a writer of an album who's the main writer, you can see the theme of something, and we go through emotions as humans. That's why we can relate to somebody who loves songs. And when you see something progress, just like you were saying a song order, where you start mad, and then you go sad, and then you go depressed, and then you go realization, and then you're back in love, or you're positive again. When you go through those cycles, I love that. That's raw. That's human. That's art. And too many people don't develop that.
When you talk about concept albums, that was something they touched on in the Rush documentary, where they sent the album to, I think it was WMMS, Cleveland Rocks. There was a time when rock radio stations could break bands. And Cleveland, a lot like Buffalo, very blue-collar town. And they get the Rush album, and they're talking to the PD, they're talking to the program director, and she opens it up and she looks at the longest song, because that's a bathroom song. Because DJ may have to go to the bathroom. Let's see if there's a long enough song that they can do it. And she drops the needle on Working Man. And that was that song resonated so much with the blue-collar mentality in the late 70s, early 80s. I can't remember when that album broke, of Cleveland, that dun da 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 da, I get up 7 and you know, that whole thing. They went, and everybody lost their shit. Well, then they put out another album, didn't do as well, and blah, 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 and they were doing the conceptual stuff because Neil Peart was very intellectual in writing the lyrics. that they wanted them to write a studio album. We need hits. So they had a band meeting, basically, and they're like, you know what? If we're going out on our own terms, and we're writing the album that we want to write. And if this isn't any good for them, fuck them. And they wrote 2112, which was one of their definitive pieces. And now,
Great tune.
well, because it was a concept, and that first album, the first side is the fucking concept album, and one of the most beautiful love songs, Tears, I've ever heard, is on the B side of that album, or on the side 2. But because that album was so well received, now Rush can do no wrong. They can write any concept album they want. So sometimes that works out. But it's like you said, you're talking about a cohesive thought. A lot of people blow me shit because I like Bat Out of Hell. That's a fucking great album. And you look at the producer, you've got Todd Rundgren, you've got Utopia playing, you've got Jim Steinman writing, you've got all this shit. It's tough to get those people together. You know, I'd rather listen to Steven Tyler's work than listen to somebody else, like, you know, Pi Dubois go in and write something. I was never a real, although the Kim Mitchell stuff was brilliant. Akimbo Logo, that whole thing, you know. I fucking went back in time because I heard Patio Lanterns again. And I lost my fucking mind. I was like, oh my God, Patio Lanterns, I remember this fucking song. And just like you said, Scotty, you are transported back to a specific moment in your life just because you heard that song.
Chucky, I'm sorry. One more time, give me the name of that song.
Patio Lanterns by Kim Mitchell?
No, the Def Leppard's song.
Pour Some Sugar on Me. Is that on Hysteria?
Oh, Pour Some Sugar. Okay, for some reason I thought you were saying Porcelain Hysteria. I don't know why. But yeah, Pour Some Sugar on Me was on...
was it Hysteria?
Yeah, it was on Hysteria. There you go.
Moonshine, do you prefer the songs that are written by Tyler, or do you like the collaborations with the Diane Warrens and the people like that? So those, those songs,
The Diane Warren was not a collaboration. She wrote "I Don't Want to Miss a Thing." It was a country song before it was ever an Aerosmith song.
So was that the only time they've done the Diane Warren? Is that the only time they've done? Because I know they've worked with another songwriter. I can't remember.
They work with songwriters. There's Marty Fredrickson is one of their more. He co-wrote "Jaded."
Okay.
They work with songwriters, but Diane Warren is the sole writer of "I Don't Want to Miss a Thing."
Okay.
That is not their song.
I wasn't sure.
That's a remake, and it's their only #1 hit, and it is a little bit of a thorn in my side.
I wasn't sure if that was a collaboration or if that was an out-and-out.
You mentioned Diane Warren, and I was like, hold on, let me unmute myself.
It's like their later work though. That was
Hey, Chucky.
That was 1997, 8.
Hey, Chucky.
Yo.
Another just really off the top of my mind question. I didn't have this planned. But when was it that they started having that, they quit doing that 5-album contract, do you know?
I don't know. Sometime in the 90s, I think that Jared would probably know better than I. Jared, when did they stop doing development deals?
Development deals stopped a long time ago.
Like mid-90s, wasn't it?
I was born in 91, and they weren't a thing before then. Okay.
That explains how Disturbed was to me then.
Well, there was a time, Dimitri, you got to understand something. There was a time when a 3-song demo tape could get you a 5-album deal. 2 upbeats and a ballad.
I know that.
Yeah. You know, that and that's basically it. But those days, they just it depends whose ears are listening to it.
Chucky.
It doesn't exist.
Chucky.
Yes. It's never because there's so much talent.
Hang on a second, Jared. Go ahead. You're breaking up, Jared. Do it again.
Because there's so much talent and because the internet exists, there will never be a development deal ever again. Because so many bands are so talented that they will get signed and promoted like fuck.
You're right. It was a lot harder to get discovered, except for locally, unless you knew somebody.
And it sucks too, because they'll let on any pretty boy who can kind of sing that they'll write all their songs and whatnot for them.
It depends on the genre.
It depends on the genre.
Pop. That's the genre I'm talking about.
You know, it's amazing. Steven Tyler, even to this day, has spot-on pop sensibility. If it were up to him, Aerosmith would be the worst band ever. because he's got nothing but pop sensibility, and that's why he made such a great judge on American Idol. He put out a song a few years ago called "It Feels So Good," and if you listen to it, it's like a Steven Tyler solo song, and it wasn't a hit or it wasn't popular or anything.
It's with Michelle Branch.
Because he's a 65-year-old man. That's not what the pop crowd wants. But he is so much pop.
That with?
With nobody. That's Steven Tyler.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that irritates the hell out of me. I have really strong opinions when it comes to older bands. And it's like when you meet younger people now, people are always amazed because I'm 22. People are always amazed that I know who Aerosmith is, and I know who Cream is, that I know who fucking Black Sabbath is. I mean, it's just like.
Well, what you're finding, Dimitri, is a lot of people are actually starting to go back into those types of bands. Quite possibly, and correct me if I'm wrong, because a lot of it had to do with stuff like Guitar Hero and people were
Not at all
listening
the point
to
I
these
was trying to make, though. The point I was trying to make was that Steven Tyler's got spot-on pop sensibility, and that is what has been able to catapult Aerosmith back into, like, the public eye. Yeah, like the top 40, I guess, is what I'm saying, over the past... like 15, 20 years almost. Aerosmith has been a band for 40 fucking years, and rock can get you by. Rock can get you by for long enough, but you gotta have some like pop sensibility in order to make it by. And that's where, like, because you can listen to Joe Perry as a solo artist, and you could hear how heavy the rock is in Joe Perry. Same thing with Brad Whitford. Same thing with Brad Whitford's fucking solo album, Whitford St. Cloud, back when Aerosmith broke up in the 80s. They're very rock-oriented, but you can be the hardest rockers on earth and never make the top 40 unless you have that pop sensibility. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, a really popular band needs to have both.
And
that was my ultimate point.
Well, the problem with that is, and Scotty will back me up on this, is that a lot of people think that if you actually have a pop sensibility, you have in fact sold out. When
I was just going to get to that point.
No,
I don't.
Not at all. You're making the music you want to make. I don't know why that's such a thing anymore.
I think that it's
not selling out. I'm buying in, motherfucker.
Exactly. So Scotty.
Exactly.
I was gonna say
Five Finger Death Punch made a song called "The Pride" recently, and one of the exact lyrics is like, "I'm not selling out, I'm buying in," because everyone thought Five Finger sold out because they have ads all over their fucking concert. I'm sorry, but you gotta do what you gotta do in today's music society to get some recognition.
Music.
If that means having Sobe behind
music. Fuck you. You have to do what you gotta do to, like, literally live life.
A lot of people say that. They'll say, like, oh, the band sold out, they're all polished, they're all this. And, like, no.
That's bullshit. If you like the music,
Dimitri, hang on a second.
It's called remaining relevant. Now, there are some people that are ahead of the game or behind, but if you want to stay, you gotta go with life's, like, history repeats itself. Styles doing it right now. Music does it, too. And I think rock is actually making a comeback. Look at Caleb Johnson, the winner of American Idol. He is the very first hard rock heavy metal singer to ever win the show in 13 seasons. There was one other who did all right in like 2010.
Hold on, are you guys hearing? Fuck, I'm not hearing you guys now.
I haven't watched American Idol since season 3.
Okay, but
and that's like Steven Tyler seasons included. I couldn't watch him without Aerosmith. He's got a lot of pop sensibility, but I love Aerosmith because they fucking rock.
But okay, here's what I didn't like. What you were talking about Moonshine earlier, where you said either you or Chucky said they don't ever have to write any more music. They can just tour off what they have because you'll make more money.
No. I didn't say they didn't have to. I said that's literally what they were going to do.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Hold on.
This is the thing. You have a point, Moonshine, where they've been a band for. I mean, come on, they've been doing music for.
I wasn't trying to make a point. Aerosmith had an interview where they were like, it would be stupid for us to release new music.
Okay, no, you're right. But my point is.
No, but I'm not trying to be right. I'm just telling you this is what the band said.
Okay, but let me say what I'm going to say now on that note. I'm saying when you're an artist, I suppose you get to a point where you don't want to write music anymore. Even if you go through different changes in life, like there's a comment here that says, I read an article before it said that the reason the years seem to go by quicker is because of the lack of newer experiences. When you're a kid, you do so many new things for the first time, and those amount of newer experiences get lower the older you get. Maybe when it comes to songwriting, you don't actually become a better songwriter because it's not as raw 40 years later. Maybe he doesn't want to write songs. And to that point,
well, okay, but you're talking about Steven Tyler, not Aerosmith as a band. Steven Tyler has actually come out to say that being one of the only band members who hasn't done a solo album, like all the guitarists really, like, I mean, obviously your bassist and your drummer aren't going to do a solo album, but Brad Whitford's had a solo album, Joe Perry's had a solo album. Steven Tyler is the only one that hasn't really like pursued solo stuff.
Okay.
And
no, I can.
Steven Tyler still very much wants to put out an album. The thing is that who wants a pop album from a 66-year-old?
Well, the thing is, it's not even a question of that. It's what happens is, it's kind of like the progression of the Beatles. When the Beatles first started out, they were just playing, She Loves You, Yeah, 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 and then towards the end, they were getting very experimental with their music.
Right. The Beatles in the beginning, oh my God, they were such like the blank canvas for rock.
Yeah.
I love it.
And then when you people start to experiment with different sounds, like you started seeing Peter Gabriel experimenting with different world beats, you saw Sting experimenting with reggae, and different things like that, and bringing these other flavors into the mix. That's a lot of it, because the reason that I really appreciate Angus Young from AC/DC is he said, the only thing that's changed with our albums are the covers.
Oh my God, no shit though. That's like one of the worst parts about AC/DC though.
However, though,
like listen to 3 AC/DC songs and those are your favorites and you never need any more.
Or Slayer. I mean, a more modern example of what Chubby was just talking about could be Metallica.
I wish my hair was down. That would have been a lot cooler.
Well, I mean, it's just that a lot of times when you see that, a lot of times your fans don't want you to stretch. They don't want to hear you do something a little bit more experimental. And a lot of times you can lose a lot of people with that. Even Slave to the Grind from Skid Row, when they kind of experiment a little, they went a little bit heavier than they were doing before, and they asked them, they said, do you think that you lost fans? They're like, fuck yeah, Slave to this Grind. It was they said that they cited that. A lot of bands would try to do something a little bit different. And sometimes when they try to go back to what they had done before, like even Queensryche tried to write Operation Mindcrime 2. Didn't quite work out. I mean, a lot of times you can't revisit that shit.
Side note, Bates.
But I mean, like, a
what
more
was that?
modern example.
Wait, hang on. What was that, Jer?
I have to work tomorrow, so I need to go to bed. Because
I mean, I have a feeling that if I don't eventually end this thing could go for 24 hours straight, and
I was just gonna say it's about time. Like this is a very.
We can always continue this talk in the after show. So
I'm going.
Okay.
So what do you do?
Well, Jared, thanks for listening and chiming in when there was a speck of silence, I guess. So yeah, thank you.
It was great to meet you, Jared.
Yeah, you too. Be
You're
safe.
talking about something that
I'll call you this weekend, Jared.
Yeah, no, Moonshine, definitely text me.
Yeah, totally.
Well,
okay. Well,
okay.
It was
I will.
nice
I will.
to connect you.
Hold on, I will.
He left.
Crazy.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, you guys can keep talking about this. I wanted to mention something here. There's a shirt I'm wearing that's called, or not wearing, but I have in my closet called The Fling. There was a band from Orlando, Eric, Alex, and Justin. 3 guys. And you were talking about band and chemistry, and like when you've got a variety of artists, just because they're a bass player or a drummer, sometimes they could be the lead writer in a band, but the lead vocalist happened to be the writer. And I think that Justin, who still represents the Fling, and Alex is there as bass player, their drummer, who kind of sets the tone, he is out in San Francisco now. He's a phenomenal artist. He does canvas paint, and he is unbelievably good, and he's doing big things there. But he was kind of like the tone setter for the band, but he also fucked it up because he never played the same set twice. He never read music. He actually just created it. You know, so if he was getting high that night or something, or he was drunk, he would play differently, and he would aggravate the band. So each band has has artists that come together and they work really well, and sometimes they you hit bumps in the road, and sometimes they're not meant for each other, but they're great artists. That's why they split up. Like Justin Timberlake, best thing he ever did was split up NSYNC and go solo. Come on. But for other bands, it's like it sucks when they don't work out because they work really well together when they're together. But when they're not,
Disturbed now, they're on hiatus.
About bands. NSYNC was a boy band. There's a distinct and marked difference.
But we're talking about one of the most successful of all time, and I was just using it as an example because now you've got somebody who grew up as a Disney star, went to a boy band that was kind of forced. They did well together, and then he goes, you know what? I've got my own voice and my own art, my own talent, and I want to see where I can go with it. And he's
everybody knew that.
Awards now.
Have you heard the NSYNC song "Gone"? That was like the Justin Timberlake show. That was like the precursor to his entire career. 'Cause you're gone, baby girl, you're gone. Like, that's all him. There's, like, no collab about that song. And that was on their, basically, the last album NSYNC did together.
Like Justin Timberlake was NSYNC. I mean,
well, you also
he was so far and above everybody else the whole time. It was just, like, basically grooming him in an environment that wouldn't turn him into Justin Bieber.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm not even joking.
He still managed to keep his integrity.
To this day, like, I've heard Justin Timberlake is nothing but, like, the nerdiest, like, coolest guy on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And,
Humble.
I agree with what Chucky once said.
When you're a guy with cameras on him for the last 20 years and you have no dirt on you, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, it's like what Chucky once said in one of his earlier drinking and smoking, said Justin Timberlake is one of the few triple threats you will see nowadays.
Oh, ridiculous! And we
have to. Well, he's not much of an actor.
He's getting there.
He's better than a lot of other people out there.
Give him some time. Moonshine. Give him some time. But I'll tell you this much: we also have to mention one other thing, Scotty. Steve Perry's returned to the stage.
Oh, that was first time in 20, 25 years since '95.
I think
he's coming back.
Well, I don't understand. I don't know the history. I don't know if it was a health issue. I know he lost his girlfriend.
It was the broken hip.
Was it the hip? It was, but it wasn't his voice. He didn't.
But they're getting rid of the Filipino guy that's been.
I don't know. I don't think they'll get rid of him. But it's just exciting to see him come back. And it was funny. We were over at a friend's house, and she had a 13-year-old daughter who was heavily into Journey, and she had to tell her daughter, said, yeah, I listened to Journey when I was 13 too, and she goes,
Journey is like one of the most underrated rock bands out there, man.
Well, I don't think so. I think that's a false statement.
No one I know fucking likes Journey. I'm like the only one.
But you hang out with assholes. You don't need that kind of negativity.
Journey is one of the most overrated rock bands of all time.
Most of your friends probably didn't grow up in the 70s and 80s either.
Journey. I actually hang out with like a lot of older people.
You know, the thing is, a lot of people think
they couldn't know them, but
what they did was pissed off is they get that song's played out, Scotty. But I still think a good song can be played as many times as you want.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So, Steve Perry actually, it was like they did like a double encore, and he came out the second time with for Eels, and it was in Minnesota, and he sounded good. What he did was he sang one of their songs, and then he happened to throw out two of his own, and his vocals are still there for what, being 65? He's up there in age too.
I don't know how old he is, but I know that it's been a while since he's been on stage again, and he still has the voice, and he has one of those unmistakable.
And that's what I love in vocalists, is when you have that unmistakable, recognizable voices.
It's kind of like when you hear "You're So Vain," and all of a sudden it's like, that's fucking Mick Jagger singing the background vocal. You know what I mean? No one had to tell you, something like that. You
Or
know,
like the guy, or like Serge Tankian from System of a Down. He's got one of the most recognizable voices in rock and roll nowadays, anyway.
With Steve Perry's, I don't think he was trying to do like a full-fledged return. I think he just happened to he knew that band. He admired their music. They appreciated each other as artists, and I think it was time for him to kind of dabble. You know, he is 65, and I don't think he's trying to make a big comeback. He liked the song "It's a Motherfucker," and he went out and sang it. And it was good. It was. Now, obviously, you're getting like cell phone recordings and shit, and when you hear the side angle, it's not that good. But when you hear it straight on, the way the house should hear it, it sounded great. And I don't know. I think it's exciting to see something like that. The reason why he even quit performing was that he got burnt out from touring. Some people, it doesn't matter how great of an artist you are and how many people you see, you get burnt out. And if you're an introvert, you know, I know a lot of introverts who talk a lot when they're in their small group of people they trust and are comfortable. You know, Chucky, you know this of probably a lot of people I know. It's exhausting trying to go out and deal with big crowds and talk to people and be personable when you're not really into that sort of thing. It's not like you hate people; it's that you don't do well in front of it.
It's exhausting having to be on all the time, and a lot of people are just like, I'd rather not.
I thrive off of that, but I'm not you know, Journey's lead singer.
But I understand. I get what you mean. It's utterly exhausting. I actually have things I have to do. We have to wrap this up, Scotty.
Scotty, okay. Before you ended the show real quick, I just wanted to bring out. You were talking about
Go
American.
ahead. You want to become the new host over here?
I just wanted to bring one thing up. You were kind of confused about
one
earlier.
thing. You've been on here for 2 hours. You had a lot of time.
I'm sorry.
Come on, I gotta go. Make it quick.
You were talking about American Idol contestant that was on like 2010. James Durbin. That's him right there. James Durbin. He was the one who kept saying, "Give metal a chance." That's all I wanted to say. Continue.
That's cool. All right. Well, I think we could probably keep going for hours, but we'll have to bring this on. And I don't want to do a follow-up episode on just music or especially just this topic. I think it was great to hear it. I actually enjoyed it, or we would have stopped it a while ago. This was the longest episode we've had in months. But I think it was interesting. I apologize to those people who stuck around but weren't really interested. You're just loyal. But if you liked it, feel free to chime in. The comments weren't really that busy, so I didn't really mention too many things. But Megan said, if I remember correctly, he wore a bathrobe in that porno. Oh, whoa! Is she just getting to like the Sylvester Stallone part? Wow. Okay, so some people are behind.
That was a while ago, sister.
I'm really loving this music topic because music is my #1 passion. Well, thank you. Sports passion. How is that your name? That's interesting. Is it sports or is it music? It should have been music passion 2594. Anyway, Adam Jones a while ago said that he wanted to. He was enjoying this and that he liked the show too. So thank you all for watching. Thank you to Jason Horton, who came on for the first hour. Moonshine for being here as always. Dimitri, which it's not even your real name, for joining the show. And Charles St. Michael. This has been episode 122, and we will see you next Wednesday. Thanks for watching. Let's go.
Maybe I'll see